Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and do we have an outstanding packed panel with community members that you all know and love, but we also have topics that are the hottest in what we call gaming news, and we're going to be breaking that down momentarily. Now, as you can see on the screen, we are missing two panel members that should be here momentarily. We're waiting on BitCloud Gaming, who is also one of my co-hosts on Breakfast with Boom, and we're also waiting for Gaming Forte, who should be again here momentarily. But let's get into the introductions, and we'll start with one of our guests first. You know him as the voice and one of the most raunchiest gamers of what we like to consider nighttime viewing when it comes to amazing podcasting. He has a host. You know her by Primal Eve. She's lovely. She is his other half from another part of the country. Please welcome Noof Nukem.
Here it comes. Brace yourselves. Boom, boom, kaboom. It's Noof Nukem in the room. Yes, I know. Probably getting tired of that one right now. But hey, I am here, ready to go. Always saw the bat signal go out. You know, couldn't wait to be here. It's always an honor and a pleasure. Chat's always rocking. Panel's lit. We got a lot of hot topics, so I won't say any more. Let's get down to it, and let me know. Arnold is always on standby if needed be.
Well, listen, we'll probably be getting to Arnold a little bit later in the show, but I know that you took a couple of weeks hiatus on Gaming After Dark. Yes. Is that going to be coming back this week?
Back tomorrow night. Yeah.
Nice, good to know, and we'll get more into that on your outro later on, because we got to get some more eyes and ears on that particular program. Next up, we're going to be talking to two panel members that were here since the inception of Primetime Gaming. And first, we'll talk to our resident Cape Crusader. Not only is he an amazing community member, but he's also one of the biggest Batman fans that I personally know. Please welcome to the show, Cybernox.
What's going on, Boom, Tempest, Noof? Always good to be here with you guys on a Monday night chat. It's gonna be awesome today. I can't wait to start going on these topics.
Oh, well, listen, thank you so much for being here, and we definitely appreciate you being a part of tonight's program. Next up, you know him as our resident assassin, someone not afraid to shoot you in the head from across the map and laugh all the way about it. Please welcome Tempest Son.
Every time, buddy. You get me. Yeah, it's good to be here, man. Got some interesting topics, and I'm just excited to get to it.
Well, listen, it is great to have you a part of the program once again. So thank you for not only being here tonight, but being here each and every night to make Primetime Gaming what it is. Next up, now you know this voice. He is our resident trophy hunter. He is a very serious PlayStation representative and someone that I call a co-host on Breakfast with Boom. Please welcome to the panel, BitCloud Gaming.
Yeah, finally I get the invite to Primetime. I was feeling a certain way. I'm just saying, I was feeling a certain way, but okay.
Well,
it was like, you're only good for Fridays. You're
only good for Friday mornings and not good for Mondays. Well, you're good for any show that you ever want to be on. Thanks so much for being here, dude. Super appreciate it. Love working.
My wife tells me I'm no good for nothing, so that's better than
that. You know, right? I need somebody for prime time. I'm like, wow, I just now get the invite. How sway.
Well, listen, it's great to have you a part of obviously today's show, and I'm sure there's going to be somebody in the chat asking, you know, what happened to him on Friday? Completely my fault. I sent the invite because normally when I do these invites, if you've been a part of any of the programs, I do one general DM. All the links to the stories I'm going to use go in there, and of course all of the show notes and the link for the day of the show. For some reason or another, Twitter has really been acting like a D-bag lately, and I started a DM and didn't realize that he got bumped out. So when I sent out the notifications for to be a part of the show, he never got it. So that was completely on me as a show host. But BitCloud will be returning this Friday morning, of course, to talk about whatever I put together for a show. But I kind of want to do a little impromptu topic, and I don't normally like to do this, and I'm doing something that I find to be horrible as a show host, and I'm reading directly from my phone, something I do not do. I don't like it, but I have to give a big shout out to a good friend of the program. You know him on Twitter as Cup Z, and he's at WR Cup Z86. The reason why I bring him up is because we talk on a regular basis through DMs, and something happened with Jason Schrier and a few of the PlayStation big time developers. And my history with Jason is a very small one. I got into a conversation with him. It actually started out as a conversation on Twitter, and he was being his arrogant self. So I called him a pompous ass, trying to be, politically correct, but not an a-hole at the same time. And he blocked me, which is, he blocks everyone that doesn't agree with him, and that's perfectly fine. Trust me, I sleep excellent at night when I'm not writing these shows. So Jason, go do whatever you're going to do. But what's interesting is, you would think someone of his stature in the gaming community, I'm not saying that he means anything to me. He may not mean anything to you, but I think that he showed how disrespectful as a person he is. And I'm going to bring up the situation. If you guys are not familiar with it, I'm going to read verbatim from Twitter what exactly went down. And there was a gentleman by the name of Jeff Cantana. And he wrote, in a medium where everything is John Wick, The Last of Us 2 is Schindler's List. And just like that film, there were times when I wasn't sure I could keep going. Now, he was obviously making a compliment to, of course, the game. He obviously is reviewing the game, and listen, I'll say this. From what I heard from a lot of people that I know, The Last of Us 2 has some very intense scenes. And some people found it, especially in the current world situation that we're in, tough to get through. But at the end of the day, it's just like a film or a book or game. It is, in fact, fiction. And if you are willing to see the story through, I think that at the end of it, we're all going to be very, very surprised and very impressed with what Naughty Dog has crafted for us. But Jason Schrier took it a bit further, and he says, "You see, BioShock's audio logs are a lot like the Diary of Anne Frank, being facetious." And I don't have any of his other tweets where they were going into, but I do have one other one. And Neil Druckmann responded directly to him and says, with all due respect, I find these kinds of ironic jokes to be unproductive at best. We can do better with critical discourse, especially by those of us with thousands of followers, and especially about sensitive subject matters. Now, one person going back and forth, you figured, okay, it's just the director of Naughty Dog. Now, some people may not have a lot of nice things to say about him. I don't know him. I just know Neil Druckmann as the guy who was the head of Naughty Dog, and quite frankly, I'm a big fan of his work and his team's work. But Jason Schrier then responds directly to him and says this: "Hey Neil, this is weirdly personal. Still not sure why you feel the need to go after me multiple times for expressing that I felt an analogy was tacky. I sure hope that this is not related to my recent reporting on your studio. Be well, best of luck on your launch." Again, I don't know if he was being facetious, being an a-hole, or being gun shy because he got called out. But then Cory Barlog, maker of 2018's Game of the Year God of War, got involved, and he says this directly to Jason Schrier: "Tweets are difficult to interpret nuisance, but I have to say that lately you have come off as a bit of a bully, Jason. I get that that your bread and butter is tearing us down, but not everything is about your book or article. Sometimes it's just about being decent to one another or each other." And even Colin Moriarty, now I don't know if anyone knows who that is. He used to work with Greg Miller, and he's obviously very outspoken, and I like Colin a lot, as a matter of fact. And this is what Colin had to say on it. He says, "These dudes and those like them are undisputed masters of online hysterics. Their outrage is designed entirely to solicit head pats from their in-group. They're not actually mad at what Jeff said. They understood exactly what he meant. They're just like being cruel. So BitCloud, I actually want to go to you first on this because I don't know if you saw this, if you were privy to this information. But when I see this kind of shenanigans go on, listen, I understand if you were a person that, like, for instance, let me just take me, for instance. All right, I'm sitting on 5,000 followers for Twitter, and I want everyone to understand. I still can't believe that number exists for me personally because
Flex, boom.
No,
I'm kidding.
I don't feel like I do anything remotely special. I'm out there. I have a couple of shows. I love interacting with this community. I love posting stuff. A perfect example, I got the Razer Kishi today, and I've been playing with Project xCloud with it, and I've been tweeting about it and having a great time, and I love interacting with this community. But with that said, I have 5,000 followers. So as someone who respects this community to its core, me, Mr. Boomstick, Craig, whether you know my first name or not, have a responsibility to conduct myself in a proper manner. And you'll never see me completely lose my shit going after someone on Twitter. If someone is being, an a-hole, I politely pull their coattails, but in a way that's professional because I have 5,000 followers and I feel that I would be misrepresenting the community that looks into me to follow me, right? And when I see someone like Jason Schrier being as a-hole-ish, if that's even a word, to people in the gaming community, such like a Neil Druckmann or a Cory Barlog, or even like a Colin Moriarty, the sense of disrespect that I get from it is nauseating because he should know better. And it seems like he is click chasing, and I don't like that. And again, me calling him a pompous ass a few years ago makes me feel that I made the right call. But I'm interested to hear, BitCloud, were you aware of this particular situation, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, that's Jason Schrier. He's built a reputation on just being that guy, right, that just wants to smoke. Pretty much, he always does that. He likes to put out a lot of like news. Now, granted, I do follow him because he is knowledgeable. He does know a lot that happens in the industry. A lot of the leaks that he even talked about, even pertaining to PS5, were indeed true. You know what I'm saying? So he knows what he's talking about in a lot of things. However, the way he conducts himself, that's a different story. Now, I know like 3 people who got blocked by him. 3 people, and one of which got blocked just simply asking him a simple question. And the thing about Jason, I've always noticed that Jason is quick to talk trash about someone, but is quick to ask for sympathy when it's something involving him. Now, you notice when Kotaku let him go, what do you do, Boom? He immediately went to social media and basically looking for a support system.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Good call.
Yeah, he doesn't really look at no one in this industry. Like the way he looks at it is the same way I look at a lot of these news articles that dropped recently. And you guys see them on all the time. Like some people make videos on them. Me, I stay away from them. But I'll see something crazy like 10 reasons Xbox Series X will fail and sucks. And then you'll see another one that says 20 reasons PS5 is outdated or something, right? And then people will take those and do what? Feed the console war. A lot of these report stuff like that really fall into what he does. He just likes to fan and really push the console war agenda, so to speak. But then when it comes to big events, he tries to act professional, goes, hey, I wouldn't expect this. It's like, yeah, here's the thing, Jason. Nobody really cares.
Right.
It's like the damage is done. When you're pushing something, an agenda, or you're pushing a narrative, that usually overshadows what your big message really is, especially when you get to that particular date. And he knows this, but he doesn't really care to change. So when Kotaku let him go again, you thought it was honestly, when Kotaku let him go, I thought maybe he would turn around a bit. But it's like as soon as he got the game industry.biz job, he got more and more cocky with it. So look, Jason's crazy for that.
I'll say this. Listen, I'm never going to take away what he has done for the industry in regards to, and I don't want to use the word exposing.
Yeah.
There is a lot of behind the scenes, quote unquote crunching that goes on. And a lot of it continues to go on because the gaming industry is not unionized, meaning that when you get hired by a gaming company, you are probably going to be salary based, meaning that you're going to work. You're expected to work X amount of hours, and you are getting paid for those hours. But if you work over, there's no such thing as overtime. So you're going to work. So he has exposed a lot of these companies to that. So I'm not taking away what he's done in regards to, again, you have to ask yourself, was it for his book? Was it for his actual love of the industry? See,
you got to look at this I think it's honestly for his own personal gain.
Me too. I agree. 100%. I was just going to say that.
Yeah, because if you're doing this for the industry, you would have not really go this hardcore about it, right? A lot of these developers put their literally everything on the line for a lot of these projects.
Sweat, blood, and tears.
Exactly. Even these quote unquote passion projects that might not actually sell. A lot of companies, really bet. Look at Capcom; they bet a shit ton on the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Oh yes,
that could have been a make or break, could it not? That could have been a make or break for him. Ended up being a thing, So again, he doesn't look at it like that. He saw it for his own particular gain. Notice as soon as he pushed that, and people started to follow, more people started to follow, more people started to tune into what his actual job. Obviously, he saw that monetary gain in that, and so. That's what he's going to continue to do. He's just going to push that, agenda. He's going to try to push those numbers.
It's a shame because, like I said at the beginning of this particular impromptu topic, you're supposed to, as a paraprofessional, and I consider myself as such. Okay, and again, I don't even have 5,000 subs. That's fine. But with that said, I still hold myself accountable for my actions, and I'm never going to do something that's going to be so outrageous, going to shock a lot of people. What you see with me is what you get. Jason should know better, but I want to go to Noof Nukem. But Noof, before I get to you, let me just thank a good friend of the show. Actually, quite a few friends of the show that just dropped. Oh, I just missed it. A good Black Eye Dog dropped a $5 super chat. I'm trying to see if I can see it. For some reason, I lost it. Let me see if I got it here. Hold on a sec. Yes, actually, yes, here it is. He says, been playing through Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the last week. Geez, does that game ever end? Malaka. And the answer is no, it doesn't. I have officially 19 days into that. So times 24 times 19 is what I have. And you know something? I absolutely love it. And a second, it came in twice. He actually
didn't end either.
Yeah, I want to thank him again because he drops another $5 just has been playing through Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the last few weeks. Jesus game ever end Malaka, and he actually thanks again, dude. Super appreciate the double super chat. I hope that's what you intended to do. If not, I will find a way to, of course, refund your money. But Kay Asante, a good friend of the show, as a matter of fact, he also received the Razer Kishi today as well. He says, "Boom! I followed Jeff for years. This guy is decent and leads with his heart. Jason was on Jeff's podcast weeks ago, and if he had a problem with the review, contact him privately. Jason just blasted him." Well, I did not know that, and thank you for the information, Kay Asante. And you know what? Again, that just goes to show you the unprofessionalism that Jason Schrier continues to, of course, show the industry people, and that's a real that's actually disgusting, and it's a disgrace. But Noof, I know that this is a bit of a we didn't expect this, but what are your thoughts on Jason Schreier's antics?
Well, again, he's an attention seeker. He knows what he's at. He's very cognizant, I think, of the stuff that he puts out there, whether he wants to admit it or not. Like I said, he's one of those guys that likes to stir the pot, and more often than not, negativity will get you more clicks. We see all of the big websites doing it more and more all the time. Like I said, clickbait titles and stuff like that. We know the context is king. I mean, as far as the guy that reviewed the game and what he said, I get what he was meaning. He was meaning that the Last of Us 2 was an emotional roller coaster that left him with similar feelings playing the game as he felt when watching a movie like The Schindler's List. He wasn't comparing it to the Holocaust. He was comparing it to the emotional weight that like very few movies have come along in the last 30 years that carry that sort of weight, especially if you happen to be someone who is is related to someone or had ties to people, or you're Jewish, and which obviously takes on a totally different meaning because they went through the persecution and stuff. But that's what he was getting at. And we all know how like words and stuff gets twisted in this community. Everybody, you can be the nicest guy in the world in this community, like 99.9% of the time. It only takes that, 0.1% for somebody to find a hole in your armor and twist it around and make you look like a bad guy. I'm not a big fan of Jason Schrier, but at the same time, he's written some good articles. I'm glad in the sense that he brought some light to stuff like, again, the crunch work, because we know what's happening. Devs are very scared to talk about things like that because, again, they're not protected by unions, and most of them are afraid that by speaking out against workplace injustice that they're going to be blacklisted and have a very hard time ever finding work in the industry again. And that goes for a lot of jobs like that. So I'm glad that Cory Barlog and even Neil Druckmann himself brought light to what he said and kind of tried to right the wrong and say the guy's entitled his opinion, and not everybody out there is going to think The Last of Us 2 is just this amazing masterpiece. Some people will hate. I know people that didn't like the last game. They adamantly say they just didn't enjoy it, and that's fair. We're all entitled to our own opinions.
Correct.
I love Gears of War 5. I love the Gears franchise, and there's people out there that can't stand it. They just constantly find reasons to hate it, and I love it. So there you go. I can't fault anyone for their rights or their wrongs, but again, the guy's a little, like I said, he's a bit self-centered. I think he's very cognizant of what he does. He does it, like I said, mostly because, like I said, he likes to stir the pot. That stuff gets him attention. When the heat gets on him too much, well, guess what he does? Block. Bye. See ya.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he does. And that's how a lot of these, these supposedly subjective or journalists who, claim to be professionals, what they do, they can't handle a counter argument. They just get rid of you. Yeah, Colin Moriarty, I always liked the guy. For some reason, he got me blocked, and I have no reason why, because I don't think I've ever said a bad word about the guy. But somewhere along the line, he must have found out that Noof Nukem was a jerkhole and put me in the block list.
Well, I can assure you that you are not.
Well, some people may beg to differ, but hey, you know what? To each their own, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, listen, thank you so much for the actually the wise words, if you will, and you make a lot of sense when you're saying that. Real quick, Sean Murray, a good friend, a generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: "Love listening and just wanted to stop by. Keep up the good work." Well, thanks, Sean. Super appreciate you taking the time to hang out, but more importantly, thank you for your generosity. And once again, Black Eye Dog shows his outstanding generosity, and he says this after dropping an additional $5 super chat. What do you think of The Last of Us 10 out of 10 scores? How can a game be perfect? Well, look, I'll say this. First of all, if anyone's interested, and I believe BitCloud might be joining us on that particular day, I'm doing a review party on the 23rd of June. Where I'm going to have already 4 days invested into it. Regarding the 10 out of 10 scores, look, here's the thing. If someone is reviewing a game, and they want to give it a 10 out of 10, it may not be in what you consider or I consider to be perfect. Maybe they had, an issue with climbing or something, but the game was just so masterfully crafted that they felt it was that they could only do it justice by giving it a 10 out of 10. I would agree with that. I think that a 10 out of 10 doesn't necessarily mean the game is flawless or perfect. I just think that the 10 out of 10 means that for the person reviewing it, their experience was they were so taken aback as a gamer that they felt that this game deserved it. And you know something? It's of no surprise to me that this game is going to receive that kind of a score simply because of a lot of the topics, real world, real life topics that it's touching upon. It's Naughty Dog. it's
Yeah.
Ellie, it's Joel,
It's the most anticipated sequel for this gen, for
there's
sure.
a lot that goes into that Big Cloud. I absolutely agree, but I want to get Tempest Sun's opinion about this. We were talking pre-game, and I'm going to be honest with you. There's a fine line in podcasting I enjoy walking, and bringing up a topic like this, I wasn't originally, but I thought it was worth discussing as gentlemen to the near 200 people that are already here watching, because simply it's I think that when you have someone who has industry clout, like a Jason Schrier, who and he is widely known throughout the industry, for him to come off disrespectful the way he did, I thought was barbaric. And I figured that we'll spend a good 10 or 15 minutes on this, and then we'll move on to what, of course, everyone is here for, and that's to talk about games. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But Tempest Sun, what are your thoughts on the arrogance of Jason Schrier to say what he did?
So first of all, I was actually going to bring this up, but ABA on the super chat, he was saying that he was upset with them, or upset with Jeff for comparing it to Schindler's List. And we know what that movie was about. And
of course we don't.
As far as I know, or from what I heard, Jason Schrier is Jewish, so he might have taken extra offense to it. It doesn't mean he should have called Jeff out or anything like that. I don't know. Comparing it to Schindler's List, I get it. The game might invoke such emotions to you. I personally, this is coming from somebody that doesn't, Last of Us, the first one's not my favorite game. Nowhere near it. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like the bee's knees. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So coming from me, I hear that comparison. I'm like, okay, that's just me. I haven't played it. I don't have context, none of that stuff. So I also thought it was a little silly. Like I said, it doesn't make it right that he called him out, but pretty much what I see is, if I'm just going to be completely honest with you, it seems like this douchebag had a problem with this and called this guy out, and then this douchebag had a problem with this and called this guy out. That's just the way I see it, man. That's really all I see. What interests me was a genuinely nice person getting involved, and that's Cory Barlog. When I saw that, a little bit of me was like, no, stay out of it. I just don't want to. I like this guy. I don't want to see him get involved in this crap. But my kids are what?
You know what it is? I just think that it was one developer defending another one, and obviously Cory is very close to Neil. I mean, for crying out loud, they probably work work in tandem together, and they know each other personally. So but to Cory's defense, even though a lot of people like you were like, I don't know if you should get involved. You know what? Sometimes you just have to get off the sideline to defend a friend. And I like the fact that he called Jason Schrier a bully. And you know what? He does come off as that type of mentality, the way he does say things to people. And you know what? And very much like what happened with me with him, the minute he doesn't like the conversation that you're having with him, he blocks you, and that's a coward's way of doing things.
Right.
And I definitely don't respect him at all. I just thought, again, I think this was going to be the biggest topic of the night, but I thought it was worthy of a conversation.
Right.
Well,
now,
let me say that these guys are in the public eye, man. And at the end of the day, whether you're a podcast or especially if you happen to be in the journalism field where people look up to you for information and facts and stuff like that, it's all about the word integrity.
Yes.
Unless people have it. And if you don't have integrity, your viewership and your listeners can't really trust the word you say. And that's why a lot of the times when it comes to the big media, the hardest thing to take for word with any of the big media is the fact that they're paid by advertisers, they're paid by corporations. And for a fact, look, if somebody sends you a console, somebody sends you a headset, somebody sends you anything, and they become part of your sponsorship, they become part of your income, it's pretty hard to go out and say, well, to give an honest answer on a game or a product, because That's just the way it is. I worked in radio. I know how it works. There's certain restaurants that I couldn't stand, but you think I could say that publicly on radio? I wouldn't have had a job very long. I would have got blasted by my advertising manager. So it works the same way. Take that with a grain of salt for anything, guys. Like I said, especially these big publications, a lot of these reviews, a lot of the times, I'm not saying they're not accurate, but sometimes they're very skewed as well, just because, again, they're getting paid to say good things about it, or they're getting paid a little bit more to be a little bit more generous than they normally would be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wanted to continue my thing.
Please,
here.
by all means, go ahead.
Well, it was all to do with what Nuth just said and the question you got from the Black Eyed Dog. So, listen, as somebody that's looking on the outside, when these leaks first popped up, I won't say anything about them, but when the leaks first popped up, because I'm not the biggest Last of Us fan, I had to look. I just did. So I looked, and I was on the fence of getting the game or not. When I saw the leaks, I decided not for me, so I'm not going to get it, right? So I've had a very outside of the box looking at this whole thing go on. I've never seen a game have so much controversy over and over and over and over again. And I will just say that this review structure and the embargo in place, please, like, if you see a 96 meta and instantly think it's a buy, maybe wait, just, maybe preload it, or I don't know if you're getting a physical or something, just wait until maybe like a few more reviews come out, because currently all these reviews you see on Metacritic, they're literally only speaking about the first half of the game. Like,
not even just that, they were hand selected by hand
selected, and I have a funny suspicion that some of them might not have published the review, even though it might hurt their clicks and views or whatever, because they physically can't speak about the last half of the game. I'm not saying the game's not going to be great. It's just a 96 on meta. Just kind of, I knew it was going to happen. In fact, I was just looking at my Twitter today. I made a comment. It's kind of silly, but I made a comment. I said, Jonathan Dornbush from IGN is reviewing The Last of Us 2. So I said, so we can expect a 10 out of 10. I was joking. What happened? Jonathan Dornbush reviewed The Last of Us 2, and it was a 10 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Even some of the good reviews that I saw that were 10 out of 10 were like, it's not fun. It was frustrating, but by God, it was good. I'm like, okay, I'm like, I fail to see it. And then we bring in Skill Up, who I've disagreed with Skill Up a few times. For the most part, the dude does 25, 35, 45-minute reviews, meticulously detailing a game that he is reviewing, right? And I'm not saying he has the right opinion. Don't get the pitchforks out. But he just said he didn't enjoy it at all. And he said it was puzzling to him how he couldn't speak because the things he didn't like was the back half of the game. And he was physically not allowed to even mention a word of it. So it's just be cautious. Be cautious, please. And listen to somebody that has a non-spoiler review, but that was willing to wait on reviewing the game until they could speak on the last half of the game. That's all I'm saying. I've never seen a more just weird circumstances for a game. And the fact that it came out is a 96. So it's technically right now, I know Metacritic doesn't mean everything, but right now it's one of the best reviewed games of all time. So it's just one of those things that's just kind of strange to me, the whole thing, So that's, I don't know. That's
all right. Well, like I said, we're all going to be playing it this Friday. Some people are going to be staying up past midnight on Thursday evening to get their, gaming on. And I would imagine that we're going to be able to, come to, a conclusion about this, about whether or not it fell off at the second half of the show. The game. Hopefully, it does not. I'm still looking forward to it. But Cybernox, let's get your opinion on this. Going back to Jason Schreier's arrogance coming through once again. What are your thoughts on the way that Neil Druckmann and of course then Cory Barlog handled it?
Well, I think everybody already here mentioned exactly how I felt as well. I will say one thing though. Jason did at one point or another on that thread said that he had spoken to Neil privately, and he was surprised that he came at him again. So I really don't know what's going on there. We all know what type of we all know how Jason Schrier is online. You say something bad about him, he'll block you, but he has a reputation for, trolling and burning people all the time online. So I understand. From on Neil's side, here's a game that it's probably one of the most anticipated games of this year, and they're just bringing here comes Jason Schreier, just bringing some more I want to say negative attention, but some more trolling attention to it, despite everything that has already happened to this game, with all the leaks and things like that. And kind of like what you guys mentioned too, Cory's just part of the family. He's in that PlayStation Studios family, and he's gonna come to Neil's defense. I see that. But yeah, it's weird seeing two people from the community with such big stature like that come and just go at it a little bit, but sometimes too it can lead to a better conversation or a better discourse between them too. So hopefully they can figure that thing out and then move on from there. But in regards to Jason Schreier, we all know how he is on Twitter and how he treats others. Somebody disagrees with them or annoys him a little bit, he'll block you and he won't even think of it. You see stories like that all the time on Twitter, people saying, I've never spoken to him ever, and he blocked me. So it's just one of those things.
Well, listen, if you're part of the block club, feel entitled, because obviously you won't have to hear from him, and you know what, that's perfectly fine. But what I want to do is I want to move on to one of the bigger topics, one of the main topics, one of the topics that we're supposed to lead off today's show, and I think it's a good one. But let me just catch up on some of these super chats, and I want to thank Abacab72 for the $5 super chat, and I'll read it out loud. I know that you already did, Tempest, but I want to read it just so he gets the credit for the $5 super chat, and I want to thank you for your generosity. He says, I thought that Jason was upset with Jeff for saying that he compared playing The Last of Us 2 to watching Schindler's List. And I think what he meant to say was the emotion part of it, not the actual context or content of said movie versus what you're playing in The Last of Us 2. And I actually kind of got that immediately from reading the tweet, but maybe some people didn't, and maybe that's where the emotions went left. Beaner 8127 drops a very generous $5 super chat. Beaner, thanks for being here, dude. Super appreciate it. He says, it already looks bad, but look up who wrote Goodbye Volcano High. The game makes sense after that. Should not have been on a Sony show. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying that as well. I mean, there are some people that are really looking forward to that game, and if you are, great. It's just, it won't be for me. Nightwolf 3186 drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Nightwolf, thanks for being here, dude. He says, good to see all the panel members, especially at Tempest Sun. Hope the fans doing good. P.S. That kid whispering earlier was so creepy. It was cool. That's probably one of the kids. But you know what? Let's move on to one of the bigger topics. And look, if there is one particular thing that I took away from Sony's show last Thursday, it was the word that I would use would be quality. And the game that took me by surprise, I think it took the entire community by surprise, was Spider-Man Miles Morales, for a lot of reasons. And unfortunately, when you have the game should have just been put out there as the next Spider-Man game and just got all the accolades for the fact that we were getting a Spider-Man game only 2 years after the original one that released in 2018. And unfortunately, it was shrouded by confusion. And that was due to, of course, the vice president of Sony Europe, who came out and said that the game was DLC. And he was 100% wrong. It turns out that the game is a standalone project in the lines of Lost Legacy that Naughty Dog released a couple of years ago for Uncharted. And thanks to Naughty Dog, they did in fact confirm it, clearing up a lot of the misconception with what was supposed to be just a celebration of the fact that Miles Morales himself, who is a pinnacle part of the Spider-Man or Spider-Verse. I mean, obviously he was a main focal point in the movie, which is probably one of the best animated films of all time, in the Spider-Verse. And we're getting a sequel. And besides that, Miles Morales is an incredible character, especially within, of course, the Spider-Man populace of comics and now games. Knowing that we're going to get a chance to play him and in his own epic adventure has me getting goosebumps just saying it live on the air. But that is not what we're going to be talking about today. As a matter of fact, this might be slightly controversial, and I'm very interested to know what the panel, as well as, of course, the chat, has to think about this. Now, listen. On the surface, the PlayStation 5 launching this fall, which is probably going to be in October or November, having a Spider-Man game, a standalone Miles Morales Spider-Man game in any other future would be epic. It would be, you'd say, wow, this is an incredible launch title. I can't believe I'm getting this game for launch. I cannot wait to play this. But we are in 2020 and in this universe. And what has me slightly perplexed is when you look at the PlayStation 4 as an overall generation, it has exceeded well over 110 million. Now, what's the exact number? I know it's a plus after 110, and that's impressive. But I want to reel it in and make it a little bit smaller so everyone can understand where I'm coming from. Let's just take the 15 plus million consumers, gamers, fans of Spider-Man who went out and supported Insomniac's new IP when it was new in 2018. And everyone that I know, not everyone, but most of the circles that I run in really enjoyed it. For me, I platinumed the game. I think I platinumed it this year, as a matter of fact, and played through all the DLC, did everything there. Could not wait for a sequel because I thought it was, in my opinion, one of the best superhero games I've personally ever played, right alongside Arkham. But this is where we get into the muddy waters, and I'm interested to know what the community has to say about this. Of course, I'm going to go to BitCloud first. Now, it has been confirmed that this is a PlayStation 5 title, and not just because it's a PlayStation 5 title is why this topic it is. We understand that they're going to be taking full advantage of the hardware of the PlayStation 5, along with, of course, the ultra-fast SSD. The question that I have to say, though, and the question I'm actually going to ask you, and I'll ask the panel and, of course, the chat, is this an unfair tactic of Sony to potentially force people to upgrade to the PlayStation 5? Because if you're one of the 15 million who bought this game, now whether that be you bought the game day one, you got it on sale a year later, you bought the Spider-Man PS4 Slim when it came out, and you got it that way. However you got Spider-Man, you went out of your way to get the game because you wanted to play Spider-Man. Now, Sony is telling customers or their consumers or their PlayStation fan base that if you want to play Spider-Man Miles Morales, you're going to have to buy a PlayStation 5. And why I think even more now than ever, then that's a real shitty move, is because of the world current situation with people still recovering from COVID-19. The money situation is as tangible as it once was. So people are probably going to have to maybe skip on a potential $500 console. I'm interested to know, BitCloud, do you agree with this tactic of locking Spider-Man behind a $500 paywall, or is this just standard fare for a new generation of console?
I mean, if we're gonna complain about that, I mean, might as well complain about Hellblade 2, being Xbox One pretty much thing. You know what I'm saying? It's Xbox Series X, exclusive. Basically, what I'm gonna say is this: every generation they need those games to show off the next gen leap, right? It's all business. So what you see with Spider-Man, it makes perfect sense for them. They need a massive system seller. Spider-Man is a massive system seller, especially coming off the first one. You know what I'm saying? Everybody who's excited from the first one is excited for this part or this other part of the story. And for me to say that that's unfair, it's not really unfair because a lot of them want that next gen leap, especially want to see how fast this game can run. And they're already talking about enhanced titles and such. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to happen. You're gonna get it regardless. Now, it doesn't bother me. It really does not bother me. It's all about business. It's all about showing off that next gen leap and them having system sellers. So that's one system seller. You know, they got Ratchet and Clank. That's also the coming few others. You know, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 was shown. Same thing can be said about Microsoft Hellblade 2 and Halo Infinite. You know, you have your game.
Those games are going to be, you're going to be able to play both of those games.
You can play those games on Xbox One, but you get what I'm saying. It's showing off that next.
Well, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, well, you're going to see a leap in graphics playing it on the Series X. The only difference that I you know what? Here's the thing. My thing is this with a lot of people not. I mean, there's a couple of angles that I want to touch on. First of all, from what we've heard through of course, the leaked Bloomberg report, Sony was going to only have 5 to 6 million consoles available, and this is going all the way through the end of March 2021 for the end of the fiscal year. So I mean, again, I'm not a business, I don't, tactician. All I can say is that what if they only have 5 million consoles available worldwide? Wouldn't you think it would make better business sense to have that available not only on your PS5 and with the advantages that console is going to have, and it's going to be a monster, there's no doubt about it, where Spider-Man's going to take full advantage of it, but somehow still play to your strength of your 110 million or your 15 million owners of Spider-Man 1, giving them a chance to buy this on the PlayStation 4. It's like, I'm a little perplexed that it's not coming out for both.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I find it to be it's this game specifically because the first one just came out in 2018, and you even had one of the heads, what maybe was the head of, who was it that actually said that there was an expansion? Now it is a standalone game.
It's a standalone game, but the vice president of Sony Interactive of Europe said that.
Okay, so like it or not, it's going to be a shorter campaign. It's going to have the original Spider-Man tacked on. Well, not tacked on. There's going to be enhancements and stuff like that. But you're just going from a fan base sold 15 million copies to all of a sudden they're technically speaking. And this is, I don't want to make this Xbox thing,
going to zero, right?
Yeah,
there's no PS5s out there yet.
Well, exactly. But you look what the competition's doing with legitimately free remasters, right? Just that's what it is. It's free remasters. And on the other hand, they're taking that fan base and just gutting them. And they might be enhancing it, they might be making it better, but at the end of the day, it is pretty much a expansion / DLC attached to what we had in 2018, and now they're saying you have to buy a PS5 for it. It's not going to piss everybody off, but especially for BitCloud and a lot of people on this panel, because they're going to be buying a
PlayStation 5, no doubt about
it. But not everybody's going to be able to buy a PS5, especially with the limited quantity that they're going to have. It makes perfect business sense to give them the shaft, especially because it is just like an expansion. And because of that, it's low effort, and it's the Spider-Man IP. So they quite literally are strong-arming people into getting the PS5 if you really like Spider-Man and enjoy Spider-Man. It's a smart business move, and I think it's a piss-poor anti-consumer tactic, more so now than ever because of what the competition is doing. So that's my take.
Big Cloud, anything else you'd like to add to this? I mean, like for you as someone, I mean, listen, we're both, you and I, we're getting PlayStation. Right? I think everybody on the panel is getting a PlayStation 5. So it's not really relevant for us because we're getting Spider-Man along with a host of other games.
We're there day one.
Yeah, we're going to platinum Miles Morales, just the same way we platinum Spider-Man. But I mean, are you even like slightly shocked that this wasn't announced for both consoles?
Honestly, because remember when they broke it down with the architecture and whatnot, they said certain things weren't going to be possible on the current gen from when you jump to the next.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense if you're fully taking advantage of the new hardware. It be, you know what I'm saying, it's not going to run at the same on the current gen. Now they definitely could have scaled it back for sure and released Miles on the current gen consoles, but again, they see Spider-Man as what, like I said before,
it's a moneymaker, dude.
And again, some of you are saying it comes with a remaster. Is that what's going on? Does it come with a remaster of Spider-Man?
You know what? I don't think it does.
I don't think it does neither. I just think
it's rumors. Yeah,
the game,
game.
It's Miles Morales, and it's just a whole new. You know, it's his adventure.
It's
basically
it's a Spider-Man version of Uncharted Lost Legacy is what it is.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And again, people
100%,
didn't complain about Lost Legacy, now did they? No, nobody complained about Lost Legacy. This is Miles' story.
Well, I was on the same console.
Same console, but nobody complained about it being a spinoff. Did they not? No.
We're not complaining.
I don't think nobody's
We're not complaining about this being a spinoff, though. That's
Nobody's complaining about that, though. So I'm saying, going back to this game. This game is already about to get you set up for the sequel. And really, to be honest with you, Miles' story, if you played the first one, it's pretty much going to tie everything together because you already know what's going to happen.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's probably going to show off Venom at the end of this and probably set up Venom or Carnage. So that's all it is. They're really just getting you hyped for the next system.
It makes perfect sense, dude. I mean, like I said, I agree with you. It from a business tactic, it makes perfect sense when you want to move PlayStation 5s. I just hope that they sell enough consoles or they have enough consoles for people to buy it. I'd like to think that this could potentially, again, folks, this is just my opinion, potentially be a Breath of the Wild situation where it's going to be 1-to-1. Each PlayStation 5 console sells a copy of Spider-Man Miles Morales. We could actually see that happen. We've only seen that happen one time, and that was with the Switch with Zelda. I'd like to see that happen with Miles Morales, his standalone, because like I said, I think the character is worthy of that success. But more importantly, I'm a huge fan of Insomniac, and I love what they do over there, and I'm looking forward to playing this game. But Noof Nukem, let me bring you into the conversation. You are getting a PlayStation 5, are you not?
I most likely will. I just with both next gen consoles, you know, it's not about if I'm getting, it's when I'm getting. I'm kind of taking a wait and see approach. Depends on the money. Depends on if I see games that are gonna, you know, pop my eyelids open enough to say that's worth dropping another. Because up here in Canada, you know, even if it's $5.99, it's gonna be closer to $800. That's a lot of dineros, man. And you know, the new house and more expenses. I don't have as much disposable income as I had a few months back. So it is what it is. But yeah, I definitely. It's not a matter of if I'm going to get one. It's just kind of a matter of when. And I'm not rushing out to pre-order. I'll just take my chances and see how it goes.
Okay, so let me ask you this though. I mean, from a gamer's perspective, let's just say hypothetically, you don't get a PlayStation 5 because, quite frankly, you might be you like many people, not only on this panel but in the world, may have to make a decision. I can't get both right now, but I can get one, and you go with an Xbox, but you still have a PlayStation 4. Would you be one of those people that would be like, you know what, this kind of sucks because this could technically, they could have scaled it back a bit and I could be playing this and I would have bought it for the PlayStation 4. So I don't, because I have that and I don't need to upgrade right now. Is that how some?
Yeah, well, you know, BitCloud summed things up very well. And like you said, it's a business decision, and I can see it from both perspectives. I mean, if you were planning to buy a PlayStation 5 anyway, regardless before, because nobody even knew this game was coming out. I think we were all pretty shocked the other day when they announced Spider. Like we were probably thinking we'd see like a teaser of Spider-Man 2 and expect it to be 2 or 3 years down the road, which is probably what, you know, most of us would have expected. We didn't expect to see Spider-Man Miles Morales coming 2020. When I saw that, I was like, whoa, like what the hell is this?
Not even gameplay, you know? That's the crazy. Nobody expected none of that.
So I'm totally excited because Spider-Man, first of all, Spider-Man can sell consoles. The fact that Spider-Man was an amazing PS4 title, which the best Spider-Man I think ever,
I agree.
hands down.
Yeah.
That also made the game. That's also lifted the game up, because now the game is not. It's not just gone from, because we've seen a history of superhero games that have been anything but mediocre, like very par. This is the first Spider-Man game that took a lot of the good elements from previous ones, but really elevated it up. And Sonic blew it out of the park. And a fantastic, one of the best games that came out that particular year. Spider-Man sells consoles. Spider-Man is that bankable IP, and that's what Sony. That's where Sony is smart, because Spider-Man's more bankable than even Kratos, or bankable than Nathan Drake, in my opinion, because Spider-Man's a property that, you know, Nathan Drake and Kratos appeal to like the Sony crowd, the people that really identify with PlayStation. Spider-Man transcends that, because Spider-Man appeals to not only PlayStation fans, but it appeals to comic book fans, Spider-Man fans, movie base. It touches so many people, and that's why that game was ultra successful, because so many people wanted to play Spider-Man. I know Xbox guys who didn't even jump on the PlayStation bandwagon up until that game came out, and then they said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go get a PlayStation, and they did. So I can see it, but it doesn't make sense for the current fan base, to the sense that, like, Sony is gonna, they're leaving money on the table in one way, they're going to make it in another. They're going to sell more PS5s because of having that Spider-Man game. People that were riding the fence are more likely to go out and buy PS5 because Spider-Man's on it. But for the 110 plus million people, that's an awful lot of potential sales for the game that you're leaving off the table by not bringing it out to your PS4 base. And I'm largely guessing that, based on the fast turnaround, it was largely built on hardware of the last generation, like the PS4 hardware. It may have some optimized elements that run and look better on PlayStation 5, no doubt, but something tells me the game definitely could still run on this generation hardware. So, like, it would have made more sense if Sony said, okay, we're making it for the PS4, but we have the optimized PS5 version. Then they kind of win-win. But, like, for people that aren't upgrading right away, it really sucks, because you can't play this game unless you buy a PS5. But I also get why Sony's doing it, because that's the bankable IP, and it doesn't look like, well, they showed a lot of great games the other day, but not many of those games look like they're ready to come out this holiday. So they needed a game that literally, you know, gets people's attention, identifiable IP, and it's going to move and help move some PlayStation 5 consoles, not just during the launch window, but months in advance. If you're playing a PS5 anyway, I would say 90% of the people are probably going to snag this game. I suspect it won't be a full price game, probably going to come in that Uncharted Lost Legacy money range, probably that $39-$49. It'll be a little bit less, I think.
It's a quick teaser to get you. It's basically the setup to get you into the big one. Because let's be real, the second one's going to be a lot bigger, because you have two actual Spider-Man characters you're playing, yes.
Yeah,
and the second one. So that's what.
So
it is.
yeah, again, it's a business decision. It makes sense from selling the consoles. It doesn't make sense for the total of games sold. I get it from both perspectives. I know what they're trying to do here. I can't necessarily fault them either way. I'll buy the game eventually when I get a PlayStation 5, even if I'm late to the show. But dude, it is what it is. That's business. Some people don't like the way they're doing business, but there's advantages and disadvantages. You kind of got to just look at it from certain perspectives, and I kind of get where they're going with it.
Yeah, I mean, again, great point.
10 million. You know, it sold over 10 million in like what, 3 weeks?
It was ridiculous.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And you add this in, you throw this into perspective too, because in 2021, what starts production? The next Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
So again, they're just gearing up. I see it as the business perspective. Again, dude saying that, oh no, it's anti-consumer. You're looking at it for the glass half full type of thing. Yeah, sure, they could have made a lot more money, but it's not just about that. They're trying to establish a new system.
Again, we've heard Jim Ryan say that they want to transition PlayStation 4 players into PlayStation 5 players faster than they've ever done before. And I suppose having a Spider-Man, game that's exclusive will certainly help push that. But you know what, Cybernox, I want to get your opinion on this, but let me just grab some of these super chats before I lose them. First of all, Elemental PO, very good and very generous friend of the show, drops an outstanding $5 super chat, says, good evening, gamers. Great show as always, Boom and crew. New York holding down the T-virus. Yes, we are. And we are starting to open up here. So I'm very happy about that. Regulator 951. Hey, dude, thanks for being here. He drops a $2 super chat and says this: let's thank Wilmy Hood for King David's new tattoo. Well, okay, if that's the case. Beaner 8127 drops an additional $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity. He says, to clarify last super chat, I don't want Volcano High. I was pointing out that it was written by someone who posted CP on Kotaku. Oh, okay. Well, that makes perfect sense now. Well, thank you for your additional super chat, dude. I appreciate it very much. Kenta Wilson. Hey, dude. Thanks for being here. He drops a $2 super chat. Says most PS5 games are running at 30 frames per second. Really? And yes, that was confirmed by Digital Foundry. I don't know if that was just for the stream. Look, folks. I'm going to say this is going to burn some people's ears. I'm a graphics whore. And if you listen to two very good friends of the show, they did the Xbox 2 podcast this Saturday. It was with, of course, Randall Thor 19 and Jez Corden, who was a guest on Friday morning's Breakfast of Boom, and he kept mentioning that kind of pissed off Randall Thor the word filmic. And what filmic means is the presentation of said game. And I got to be honest with you. I'm in Jez's camp, where if you gave me a choice of would I want something running at 60 FPS and let's say 1440p or 30 and 4K, I would take the 34K, especially in a cinematic game like Spider-Man, like Horizon Zero Dawn 2, any of these games that are again filmic. They give you that sense of cinema while playing the game, because you want the best looking version. Now, if you're going to play something in a shooter, you need 60 FPS, no doubt about it. If you're going to play something like Demon Souls, the remastered by Bluepoint, you're going to want to play that at 60 because you're going to need those extra frames. But that's just me. Elemental PO drops an additional $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity. He says, boom, Sony could have made a tiny PS4 pre-story DLC to promote the PlayStation 5 version and make everyone happy before upgrading. That's a great idea. Black Eye Dog drops an additional very generous $5 super chat and says this: heard that the PS5 pre-orders might start soon, even before price announced. Listen, the minute they get pre-ordered, I am going to go to whatever store I can do it and drop down that money. I want to lock my PlayStation 5 in. The question is, what do I get? Do I get the discless or do I get the one with the Blu-ray hard drive? I still am on the fence with that one. But I know which one you're getting on Noof. But Cybernox, let's bring you into the conversation, my brother. Spider-Man being locked behind the PlayStation 5. Do you agree with this because Sony is looking to sell more PlayStation 5s, or do you agree with like Noof where they're leaving money on the table?
1 bajillion% disagree. Now, I understand what Big Cloud is saying. They need that game, right, to push consumers and go pay more attention to the PS5. But in my opinion, is I think they're already limited in their stock of how many are going to come to this first wave or to first quarter next year, and that's already those already 5 to 6 million PS5s are going to make, right?
Well, they said by the end of 2021, which is the end of the fiscal year.
Those are already sold.
Yes.
Those are already sold. So regardless of Spider-Man, that standalone game coming out for the PS5, they shouldn't have worried about those sales. I think to me, those sales are already made. The hardcore is going to get them. And then for this past event, people are hyped for it. They had a great presentation. I agree with Noof. They should have probably made 2 versions, a version for the PS4 and a better version, for the version that they wanted to put out for the PS5.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned to you guys before, I think the hardest thing for them was going to be transitioning, their consumer base, and this might be a way to make to help them transition. But your stock is limited, so why try to force that upon your fan base? Why not give them some good gesture, so hey, okay, we know that there's 100 million plus PS4s out there. This is a standalone game, and companies do that to push their hardware sales. But we're gonna give gratitude to our fan base, and we're gonna put this standalone on PS4 as well. Just like Noob said, they're leaving money on the table. Now if there's a design limitation as for why, That they didn't tell us, but from what we saw, was minimal, right? A little bit of gameplay here, but it seems like it was made on the same engine that Spider-Man was designed on. So I don't know where that's coming from. But to me, yes, I think they're leaving money out on the table. They're doing a little bit of fan disservice. There's 15 million fans out there that bought the Spider-Man deal, the first game, that would love to play this game. And Miles Morales, he's a good character. And being that the Spider-Verse, everybody has probably watched that animated movie, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
Gives it more hype. So when people are, what do you think the fan base are how do they think they're going to react when they say, okay, hey, I want to play this game, but I can't play this game because there's a PS5 shortage. Now what's going to happen? You know what I mean?
That's a great point. They never even took the shortage, but possibility into perspective.
Exactly.
Great.
So it's just one of those things. It's a catch-22 in a way where you need this sort of game to push PS5 sales. But in this case, I don't think they needed to do that. Maybe they feel like they have to. But I also think that you're doing a little bit of fan disservice for the 15 million and potential even more consumers and their PS4 fans that wanted to play this game.
No, again, once again, fantastic points. And someone who's a little late to the party, but is always still welcome through the door. Someone I consider to be a community leader. Someone that might, in fact, have the inside track to when we can pre-order the PlayStation 5. Please welcome to the show, Gaming Forte. What's up, dude?
What up, man? It was crazy at work today. People was like, man, where can I pick up that Last of Us? What y'all doing an early release? Y'all still taking pre-orders, right? Like, man, it was like crazy today. And
dude, you're gonna burn through every piece of stock you have.
Oh man, yeah. Shout out to Sony for sending extra copies too, because we didn't think they were gonna do it, but they actually did. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, but it's good to be here, man. Sorry I'm late, man. But it's literally literally everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Like, I was busy. Next thing I know, I look at my cell phone. My phone is dead. We don't got a charger there. I'm like, I had to wait till I got in my car to go charge my phone. I was like, dude. I said, but it happens.
Those kind of days happen. But you know what? You are certainly not late to the party where you can't answer the question. And the topic that we were talking about is with Sony's announcement that the PlayStation 5 is getting an amazing, pun intended, title in the form of Spider-Man Miles Morales, which has been confirmed by Insomniac as being a standalone title, which has me amped in the size and scale and scope of Uncharted's Lost Legacy, which I thought was phenomenal. My question to the panel, and of course now to you, is do you feel that this is an unfair tactic by Sony to strong arm, and I'm using the word, being a little bit silly here, strong arm their fan base into upgrading to the PlayStation 5, or should they have respected the fact that 15 plus million PlayStation 4 owners may want to play this game and may not be able to potentially upgrade because of world current situations?
All right, so I have a very different take, like I kind of do on a lot of things when it comes to something like this. So, yes, in every word that you just said, is it unfair? It is unfair to the consumer, because the consumer is the one that literally patronizes and buys all these products from these companies and stuff. So it's unfair to them that they are being, quote unquote, forced to have to upgrade if they want to play this amazing game. So I do sympathize for the people that, feel that way. I really sympathize for the people that went out like over the course of the last 6-7 months and bought a PS4. And those are the people I sympathize the most with. Because they're the ones that are kind of locked into this generation unless they're willing to just bite the bullet again and upgrade again within the next calendar year. So I really care for those people more. But I don't think it was wrong. And the reason I don't think it was wrong is because the one thing, we always go back to what Jim Ryan said about we want to be able to move as many people over to the PlayStation 5 as possible.
You want the transition to be
How do you do that? Now, this is a question I'll ask you guys. is Spider-Man considered is it a game for the hardcore, or is it more casuals that buy that
It
game?
reaches all demographics, bro. It reaches every demographic.
So it's kind of the perfect game, because the reason, even though they have a shortage.
Can I interrupt you and rebuttal you real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just mentioned this to Boom. I don't know if you heard. The first wave or 2021 of PS5s is going to be, let's say, 5 to 6 million. Do you think those 5 to 6 million PS5s are already sold?
Oh, but let me. That's what I was getting to. Let me actually tell you this though. Sorry. No, you're good. But let me tell you, this is why I feel this way. And you're right; those systems are already sold. But what is the demographic of those systems that are already sold?
Hardcore.
Those are hardcore systems that are out there that are already sold that we're talking about. But by Sony doing this move, they are literally looking the casual base, the hardcore base, and everybody in the face that loves Spider-Man is saying, if you want to play the next Spider-Man before anybody else, you got to get a PS5. And guess what? There is a lot of casual people that love Spider-Man enough, and they're going to throw their hat into the ring to go try to get a PS5. If that game was not available, a lot of the casual people would be like, you know what? I can wait. There's nothing coming out for the PS5 day one that I want to get. And they're going to make every excuse in their head to say, you know what? They're going to be hard to find. I don't got the money right now. So they're basically looking at it like, I don't need it right now, versus now, even if you get 1% of the casual base, so 14% hardcore, 1% of the other ones to buy it, those are sales that you're getting regardless. But now there's hardcore people out there that didn't get the system. Those people are waiting for the next wave to come out. So the more people they can get that's casual to buy in day one, that's more future sales they're going to get for the hardcore later on. Think about that's how Nintendo sells like crazy. The hardcore don't get them all. But when the casual base gets involved and wants to buy something, hardcore people find a way, can't find a way to get it. And that's why I think it's a great move. But is it the most consumer friendly thing?
You guys don't want to know a great counter argument to this whole thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why didn't Microsoft do this with Halo Infinite? It's clearly their biggest flagship title in a long time.
Well, no, because Microsoft already planted their flag into the ground by saying we don't care where you play at.
Yeah.
They already said.
But they
could have done that, right? They could have done that to force people to buy the Series X.
They could have, and for some, and some people in this community believe they should have done that. But and that comes down to you being if you're a selfish gamer or not. I'm not going to lie. I'm a selfish gamer. I'm happy that they're allowing us to be able to play at 60 frames per second and play against people that are 30 frames. If you don't want to upgrade your system, you're gonna get all that work that 30 frames is gonna get you. So that's how I live about that simple fact. But once Microsoft planted their flag and said we don't care where you play at, that would have been even more of a problem for Xbox because they stated what they wanted to be. And that same energy kind of got to be used when it comes to what Jim Ryan said years ago, where we want to move people over as fast as possible. Now, they picked the one game that everybody cares about, the most highest selling game that's on that platform. And they're saying, if you want to play the next version of it, you have to get this system. So it kind of makes sense. It's not right. It's not wrong. But guess what? It's going to work because a lot of hardcore people aren't going to be able to get those systems day one just because of this one move.
I would love to go into a GameStop while Gaming Forte is working, and someone asks, "Why should we upgrade this system?" He's like, "Well, if you don't upgrade this system right now, you're going to get that work, son."
Hey, I've been telling people that all day. I was like, "Listen, man, you want to be on par with everybody else and not get work, you better get this new system."
Doesn't this put them like in the same predicament as like the 360? Remember the 360 had Halo 3 custom and all that? You think Sony's gonna pull that type of plug with this custom?
Look, man, now if they come listen, man, that's the system somewhere. If they come out with some type of I don't think it's in the cards, but Lord, have mercy.
They already went all out to make a train. That custom train thing for the first game.
They can do anything. They can do anything they want with that. But if they release some type of custom version of that system for the new system, My God, bro. I don't know what will happen.
You ain't getting your hands on the console anytime soon. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Forget about it. Well,
But,
listen,
but you guys aren't right. You guys aren't wrong, and you're definitely not wrong. Nobody on this panel is wrong because I was listening to it on my way home.
Okay.
Nobody's wrong. It just really comes down to, look, man.
Your stance comes down to your stance.
People are going to want this system, and the fact that Spider-Man is going to be that #1 seller that they're going to be trying to do. And the funny thing is, it's just it's a standalone expansion. It's not even a full freaking game, and it's going to do great.
Right.
So,
Oh yeah.
You
That's
want
all
air
that
conditioning in your car? You got to upgrade to the luxury edition, son. That's how it goes.
yep, got to.
real quick, Tempest Sun, did we get your point on this?
Yeah, no, I interjected, so I said my piece. It's
Okay,
just,
all right. So you know what I want to do is I just want to catch up on some of the super chats. We're going to move on to one of the other bigger topics. King Asante drops an outstanding, an additional $5 super chat and says this: my problem with this is we as gamers shouldn't be okay with shadiness. Yes, it's business, but so was crossplay until we spoke up. That is a great point. And Bucky64 drops a very generous $2 super chat. Thank you for being here, Bucky. He says Spider-Man behind a $500 paywall. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate, but I'm buying a PlayStation 5 day one, and that game, it would be the first game I turn on my new console. Crazy Greek dude, good friend of the show. Thank you for being here, dude. He says, he drops a $5 super chat and says this: well, IGN, this is a really great point. This is great. My God, this is so perfect. Will IGN write an article about the most expensive version of Spider-Man Miles Morales? What do you call it? $700. Just kidding. And you know something? I'm waiting for an article like that from IGN, because I think they did that for Microsoft, saying with the Xbox Xbox One X, they wrote an article about saying it was the most expensive copy of whatever.
Were you basically saying when they review it, say, is it worth it to get a PS5 for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, we're definitely going to see. But listen, as we close in on 400 live viewers, I want to thank everybody for being here.
Nice.
If you, of course, are new, I want to say welcome to the channel. I would highly encourage you to subscribe. Also, hit the like button. If you like this kind of content, you do get this weekly. Sometimes, usually it's 3, but sometimes I do 4 live programs per week. And if you like, extensive gaming talk in a live format that you can listen to at your leisure, then I would consider hitting the subscribe button and checking out the channel. I think you're going to find something that you like. We do cover all 3 consoles, and we do it evenly and fairly. We don't console bash. We certainly do not game shame on this channel. And I think most people that come here have a great time. But let's move on to topic number 3. After the so-so reception of Kojima Productions, of course, Death Stranding, which I put 60 plus hours into, and I did not expect to enjoy the game as much as I did. And I think the game itself was what you would expect from a Kojima game. But even though the graphics are beautiful, even though the story was a little wacky, that's not actually what made me fall in love with the game. It was the multiplayer aspect on a single player game. And what do I mean by that? That was because on many occasions in areas that I had just found, people from the community built bridges. They left equipment. They left vehicles. And I did that for other people that I would never, ever know and meet. And I thought there was a multiplayer aspect that really wasn't touched upon. And I thought was a very important aspect to Death Stranding. But according to GamesRadar.com, we've been hearing for a while that Kojima was working on a AAA project. Now, a lot of people equated that information with, of course, Silent Hills and potentially Metal Gear Solid. But apparently, thanks to this article that I pulled from GamesRadar.com, his new project has officially been canceled, leaving the industry icon with more questions than answers. I just want to confirm something, because I know that there's been a lot of talk just about what I said a few minutes ago about Kojima potentially working on a new Silent Hill or Metal Gear Solid. He himself has responded with a direct quote to confirm that is not true. Both of those are false facts, and he is not currently working on either of those projects. And this is what he had to say in a recent interview with LiveDoor, translated by Gaming Root, Hideo Kojima confirmed that the rumors of an acquisition of Metal Gear and Silent Hill IPs are false. And in a translated comment from the interview, Kojima simply said, "Oh, that is completely a hoax." Now, getting back to, of course, the main topic is his AAA project that got canceled. So this is what he actually had to say on it. And I was actually surprised by the verbiage. And this was, of course, in that story. And this is a direct quote from Kojima himself. He says, "Recently, a major project of mine got canceled, so I'm pretty pissed. But that's the game industry for you." And he said this during the LiveDoor interview, and they asked him specifically about his plans for the next game, and just what that game could have been is unclear at this time. But Kojima was discussing future projects early this year with Games Radar, reported back in January. And in that particular interview with Japanese magazine Famitsu Wave, Kojima and Sinkawa discussed wanting to work on a manga, an anime together, or something with mecha that he could design. Kojima also mentioned wanting to make movies, but that's obviously not the project that was canned. Now, this is the question I have for the chat and the panel. Obviously, depending on who you ask, Death Stranding was a hit. For some people, it was a miss. For me, originally, it wasn't something I was going to play. My brother bought it for me on a whim, and I actually quite frankly enjoyed the game, but I didn't beat it. I'm going to get back to it eventually. But Big Cloud, I'm interested to know, what do you want to see Kojima work on next? Do you have any inkling as to what project he is going to be working on? And is it going to be a Sony exclusive?
Honestly, more than likely, he probably would make something for Sony again, since his last project got canceled.
Right.
I do think the whole Silent Hill thing is still a thing. I'm pretty sure he does.
I really do. Yeah.
Immediately shot that down, and usually when you make it something big like that, your first reaction is to denounce and go, yeah, it's not happening. You guys remember Crash Bandicoot coming back? Everybody said it wasn't happening. It was a pipe dream, and didn't happen, like literally at E3. So I think that is happening in the long run with them. And if you go back to Death Stranding, what broke even? He said pretty much. Yes. They said it broke even.
Yes. That's
and
correct.
So, for those of you that are unaware of what breaking even really means, picture going to work and all the money you spent on gas to get to and from work. Your check comes in, and pretty much your check pretty much it equals the amount of money that you went that went into gas. That's basically breaking even. So he broke even on Death Stranding, and it hasn't released on PC yet. But overall, I honestly think that's more likely the next move, since we got Resident Evil 8 confirmed.
Looks, again, there's a lot of people on this panel that think otherwise. I think it has to grow on us.
What, for the new one, Resident Evil?
Yeah, a good project.
I like that style. I love that style. It kind of, at first, when they first showed that, I thought Silent Hill. Before they confirmed it, I thought Silent Hill, and then it was like, wait a minute. I think I saw that screenshot. I was like, oh, there it is, Resident Evil 8. But no, I think you'll get a Silent Hill from Kojima.
You know what it would be? Look, I'll put it to you this way. You know what? Let's pivot on this particular conversation, and let's not suggest what he could work on. Let's ask the question, and of course, I'll bring it back to you, Big Cloud. After PT, we saw what had the potential to be something very special. As a matter of fact, I believe that PlayStation 4s that actually still have that sell for thousands. My PS4 Pro has that game, that demo, if you will, still on there. And every now and again, I like going back to it and playing it, just thinking about what it could be. You as a guy who appreciates horror from your Resident Evil ties, would you like to see Kojima tackle a fully fledged AAA, balls to the wall, budget out the yin yang Silent Hill?
Hell to the yes, because he did with Death Stranding. Because even with the baby, when you're near the little spirits,
Yes.
BBs or no, the BWs. That sense, that tense feeling that he brings just with that. I would definitely amplify that even more with an actual horror game in general. You know, I think he can nail it. So yeah, I would love to see Kojima do it. And also keep in mind, Kojima has that unique style. He doesn't really play by anybody else's book. He's real creative in his own right, you know? So I think he really could push Silent Hills in a really, really cool way that can not only bring the chills and, you know, and the feels, but he can also probably give you a story more likely, you know what I'm saying, that you'll be really invested into as you play along, you know, the journey. So I think that'd be really great for them.
No, I mean, I agree. I think it would be an exclusive. It would be exclusive to the PlayStation 5, just like PT was as a demo.
Yeah.
It would be a console seller for sure.
Yeah, PT was one of those crazy demos that caught everybody by surprise.
So weird,
I was like,
right?
holy damn.
You know, that stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I think I would love to see more of that from Kojima. I would love to see.
I made people who don't play video games watch that demo and they were freaking out. So you're like, yeah, there you go. This is Kojima right here.
Well, you know what? I'll bring it to you, Cybernox. For you personally, obviously you were a fan of PT. Would you like to see a PS5 exclusive in the lines of a Silent Hills revival, potentially bringing back Norman Reedus as, of course, the main protagonist in that particular game?
Oh, hell yeah. That way they can this is one of those games they can take their time on. There's going to be no limitation on the hardware. They can really embrace their vision, and you know Kojima does some wacky stuff, so but he does some phenomenal things too. You know, Death Stranding wasn't really up my alley, but I love like the Metal Gear Solid franchise, PT, like I love the horror genre as well, so that fit right in with me. And Silent Hill, he can really like they probably give him the freedom to do pretty much whatever he wants. I think Sony has that confidence in him. I would think that'll probably maybe like a timed exclusive on PS5. I'm not sure if they would keep the Silent Hill exclusively.
They'd have to license it out from Konami.
Yeah, so that's just one of those things. But yeah, man, that would be phenomenal. Like you can see, I tell people all the time, you know, and hopefully we're gonna see this next generation too. Like Sony's first party and the Sony's development team, they make some phenomenal looking games. I know it's not all about graphics and things like that, but graphics are nice to look at, you know. So having a Silent Hill game being put on exclusively on the PS5, or let's say next gen consoles, where it's gonna look, where you're gonna be able to see and actually, you know, get that that atmosphere, that immersion that you would get in a Silent Hill game. And now with all that, with the audio that they have, you know, the Tempest audio and Xbox, with, you know, they got Dolby, they got Atmos in there too, so you're gonna get the full immersion, and seeing a Silent Hill for next gen would be phenomenal.
Yeah, they have their version of. I don't believe it's Atmos. I believe
it's not Atmos, right? It's
the 3D audio.
Yeah, the 3D audio. Yeah.
Which of course I'll be buying that headset all day.
Man. And then you have Kojima's visions for those kinds of games, and I think it could be, you know, a very, very nice fit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you hit the nail right on the head. Noof Nukem, let's bring you in on the conversation. Obviously, with Kojima breaking even, obviously he's still a name that drives sales. It drives engagement. It drives interest simply because of his particular weirdness, if you will, in his storytelling. And you know what? You can't argue that he created Metal Gear, and hopefully at some point or another we'll get a remake, though I don't think it's going to be from him. But getting back to Silent Hills, for you personally, would you like to see him potentially I guess stoke the fires and get that burning for Silent Hills to make a revival of sorts for the PlayStation 5?
No, well, first off, I'm not a huge Kojima fan. Second of all, I'm not a huge really horror game fan. I was never a big fan of the Silent Hill games. I never really got into a lot of them. So I can't weigh in too much on this subject, but I think Kojima's better off just moving along. Let other people handle the franchise. I don't think they necessarily need him. There's a lot of other creative directors out there who can do amazing things. with the Silent Hill franchise. You know what I mean? I don't think it has to be up to Kojima. I will just say he definitely has a lot of diversity. He's very creative. Even if his creativity isn't often questioned as being perverse and weird and completely ununderstandable. I mean, I don't know how long we were all scratching our heads at Death Stranding until it finally came out, and even now I don't even know if it still 100% makes sense. But I hope he gets back into the game. I hope he gets into another project. The sort of simmering lackluster sales of Death Stranding certainly didn't help the cause a lot. I'm pretty sure the budget was fairly large. I mean, he had some pretty big name actors in there, and that Decima engine and stuff definitely looked like it was pretty taxing and took a lot of work, but pretty cool game in its own right. I'll just leave it at that. I think he's just better off moving on to another project, and we'll see what happens.
Well, you know what? We're gonna get to the other panel members for the next topic, though. Noof, I'm going to bring you into the conversation because I know it's one of your favorite subjects, and that's Titanfall, and we're going to get into that after we're done talking about Kojima. But I want to go to Tempest on Tempest. I don't know if you are the biggest Kojima fan, but we know that you are a horror fan, and when you talk Resident Evil, which of course we know that you're a huge fan of, 2, the remake, 3, not so much 8, which we'll get into maybe at another time. We're going to bring Resident Evil 8 into the conversation. For you personally, do you want to see Kojima potentially tackle his view or ideology when it comes to a new Silent Hill?
I wouldn't mind that. As far as I want to see him do, I want to see him tackle the "Are you human? Are you not human?" element of something of like an Android flick, or I want to see him tackle like the original Ghost in the Shell, something like that. Where you play as like an android or something like that. You don't know, you're going crazy. You don't know if you're human, not human, something of that sort. And that'll also allow him to make the characters do, extraordinary things because you might be like an android, whatever. I want to see him stay in that sci-fi genre. I think that's what he's good at.
Okay.
I absolutely adore the Metal Gear Solid games.
Yes, me too.
Didn't play Death Stranding because I think I finally saw what happens when you give him free reign. And I think Sony saw what happens. Sony doesn't want to fit the bill or pay the bill for projects that just break even. That's not what they want to do.
No, they want to make bank on each property.
They want to make bank. This is Sony. A lot of their first party games sell 8, 10, 15 million. And I don't know what Death Stranding sold, but everything I hear is it was pretty much a failure in the sense that it just didn't make any money. So why did his game get canceled? It was probably a game he started working on while Death Stranding was still in the oven. And maybe it was Sony that canceled it. I don't know. I don't know that, but it might have gotten canceled for a reason. I think Kojima works best when he has, I don't want to make this sound derogatory or anything like that, but just like a leash on him. When they rein him in and say, hey, whoa, you're at a 15 out of 10. You need to be at a 10 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's okay, then go. My kids are on a roll tonight, I tell you. Sorry about that. So anyway, I really do like a lot of Kojima's work. I think he has a brilliant mind. I just think he needs to be guided a little bit. That's my personal take on it. And instead of just straight horror, I would love to see him. It doesn't have to be what I mentioned, but I like it when he injects kind of like that eerie feeling. And he did it multiple times throughout the Metal Gear Solid franchise. And I find when people do that, it to me, it just resonates and almost hits harder than if it was straight, just like, you need to be scared. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, he has a weird sensibility when it comes to making stuff, and I think that he could do good at the horror genre, but I agree with you. I think that maybe having him deal with robotics of some sorts, AI might be a better suit for him, but it's going to be interesting to see where he goes next, if it's a Sony-only project, and who's going to fund it, because obviously Sony funded Death Stranding, and you brought up a great point about Sony wanting to make bank on their IPs, and you know something, most of their IPs, their big AAA bangers, they all have been doing well for them. Death Stranding, breaking even. I don't know if you asked anyone that sits around the boardroom would be okay with a game breaking even.
Yeah.
But again, a great point. And of course, closing out the topic, Gaming Forte, let's bring you back into the conversation. Now, Kojima, he is an industry icon. Take nothing away from him. He is the creator of many, many IPs, but his most famous one, of course, is Snake and Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. Do you, as a gaming fan, not so much a Kojima fan, would like to see him tackle the Silent Hill franchise like it's been rumored that he's doing?
Look, man, I want Kojima to do whatever the hell he wants to do. Literally whatever the hell he wants to do. I may not be the hugest fan. I am a huge Metal Gear Solid fan, and the vision that he had for that game was incredible over the scope of the whole franchise. I mean, some were take it or leave it, but for the most part, it was very thought-provoking as you went through it. Death Stranding was one of those games that I just didn't get into because I didn't want to play anything that was that slow pace, but I do own the game, so sooner or later I probably more than likely will, because I do hear as time has gone on, a lot of people have played it and said, dude, it was actually a really, really good game, and it'll be that moment where I'll actually go back in and do that. But I just think for him, I would love to see him do something like Silent Hill. He proved it, like you said, with the PT demo, even though it was a nice little vertical slice of a game, that he can nail what the atmosphere of a game like that could be. I want to see him make something. I like when he makes things that are very thought-provoking and when he makes games that really make you think outside the box. And I'm just thinking of any type of horror game that kind of makes you do that, where you got to kind of question every little thing, because that's the one thing we already do in horror games and horror movies. When we watch them, we question the sanity of these people that we watch on the TV when they're doing this crazy stuff in some type of horror situation. And I just think that he could play really big mind games with people as you're playing the game, and especially with the atmosphere that they can actually project into these next generation consoles. There's pretty much no limit to the level of customization that you can do to your character, to the environments, to just the huge puzzles that you can set into these environments and stuff. I think he could really hunker down and make something great. Now, will Sony flip the bill for him to, like you said, sometimes, a tethered Kojima is a better Kojima. You don't really want him to, spread his wings as much as he did when he did with just Death Stranding. But I will tell you this: if Sony don't flip the bill, Microsoft should flip the bill, because look, as much as I feel that yes, his game did not meet the expectations that probably Sony felt like it. If they're going to put that much money into a project, they feel like it should turn a dividend. Microsoft, on the other hand, they need titles like that. They need Sony has over generations proved, it's not just this generation. There's been many of games that Sony has flipped the bill for that didn't sell well, and they made sequels to them. And it's a tried and true thing. Now this generation is kind of skewed because all the PlayStation 4 games, for the most part, sold really, really well when it came from a first party studio. But last generation, there was a bunch of games that were on the fringe, didn't sell as well, and they still made sequels for them and stuff. So I think if he can't get somebody from Sony to do it, Microsoft should be the first one there. It's hey, I know we got this strange relationship, but hey, money cures all. And if they give that man creative freedom to make a game that he wants to make, I think that would be something that a lot of the industry would pay notice to. And on top of that, it would give them something that they never had on their platform before.
Hey, to
add on to that, especially with the reports for Konami, supposedly, Sony buying Metal Gear back.
Yep.
Imagine if he went back to his roots and they let him make Metal Gear back over him.
And let him have the full creative control of what he wants to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be, I'd put it to this way. It would be industry shaking.
It would.
Kojima made a game for Xbox. Think about the headlines. Think about the the free advertising that would come along with the fact that he is not making a game for Sony, that he's making one game, not that he has his own, Xbox studio, but he's making one game. Kojima Productions is making a game for the Xbox. That would be industry shattering.
Jeff Keighley might actually take Xbox serious then.
Yeah. to your point, I will say this.
Your guy that'd be great for him.
Yeah, I will say this. I think the reason why it didn't sell well is because it's a tall order to ask somebody to spend $60 on a game where you throw pee and poop bombs at shadow creatures and there's dead babies. Okay, that was a tall order. That's why I didn't want to pop the $60 for it. Now, but if to your point, more people guaranteed would have tried it if it was on Game Pass.
Actually, later 951 actually just dropped a $2 super chat and said that Death Stranding would have done better in Game Pass.
Absolutely, it would have. And not saying that the game had to be in Game Pass to sell good, because it did break even not being in there. But that's the type of game like most people had the problem with that game was for the longest we just didn't know anything about it. If it was something that was Xbox, not developed studio, but funded by Xbox Game Studios like Ori was, and it was say day and date in Game Pass, people wouldn't have cared what the game was about. They'd have been like, dude, we don't know what this game is about. Good thing I ain't gotta buy it, but we gonna play it on day one with Game Pass. And you know what? I think I think the reception, not saying that just because it's on Xbox, the reception would have been better. It wouldn't have hurt. It would have I think a lot of people wouldn't have been so quick to say, oh, walking simulator this, oh, that, blah, 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 blah. They would actually got a chance to go in and play the game and see for themselves without having to watch other people play. Because there is a difference when you got the controller in your hand versus just watching somebody play the game.
For sure, yeah.
So I don't think it's even just Xbox. I just think for Kojima himself, I just think if he wants to make something, somebody will give him the bag to make the game. Xbox should just do it, because I feel like they're in a situation where they need games like that. They need developers that think outside the box, that can have their own vision that they don't have.
His name
and the name itself would help, because Sony, at a certain point, Sony already has the cachet. If they're not willing to flip the bill, go somewhere where they will do it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Well, listen, what I want to do is I want to go to one of the last topics of the show. But before I do, Midway Monster. Hey, dude, thanks for being here. And of course, thank you for your generosity. He drops a $5 super chat and says this: I can watch horror movies, can't do horror games because in real life, I'd be running the other way.
Don't play Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh man, I gotta play that.
He said, "Why would I go forward?" But listen,
Resident Evil 7 in VR, baby, all the way through.
Oh well, as a matter of
creepy with the stew when he was feeding you dinner, Forte. Oh my god.
Oh man, I was like, no.
You guys believe I got that game for like $4.99 because it's like a play anywhere game, and it was on sale on the Windows Store, and I was like, oh okay.
Why not?
Pick that up.
Why not?
Boom.
Well, listen, I want to get into the last topic of the show. This is for me as a host. I get a chance to write these original topics, and no one's talking about it. So I figured, what the hell? I'm going to talk about it, and we're going to bring Noof Nukem into the conversation first. In a second, when I look back at this particular generation, we're all going to reflect differently with the many different games and the many different genres that we've all played, and of course, in that list is old IPs revisited, new franchises, new favorites, and games that took over our lives. Now, one of those games for me personally was Titanfall by Respawn Entertainment and published by the empire known as EA Interactive, or Electronic Arts, I should say. Originally released as an exclusive for the Xbox One, Titanfall 1 came out March 11th on 2014 to rave reviews. And of course, the game is currently still sitting at an 89 Metacritic, which is pretty outstanding. Now, obviously, in 2015, the new IP moved 10 plus million copies. And I believe that it's currently sitting at anywhere between 12 and 14 million copies by now. And on October 28th, 2016, the sequel to Respawn's new IP released to excellent reviews. And that also, even though it's a multi-plat, is sitting at an 89 Metacritic, which is, again, awesome. The big issue with the, that happened with Titanfall 2 was the so-called marketing boobs at EA thought it'd be smart to release Titanfall 2 sandwiched between Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and EA's own Battlefield 1, snuffing out sales in a big way. But now we get to the crux of today's awesome topic. And with the success of Apex Legends simply meaning EA is making buckets of cash, I thought that Titanfall 3 would be a given, and so far, nothing. Now, well, there and just to clarify, there is actually still hope, and thanks to IGN, where I actually pulled this article, they sat down with Vince Zampella. He had a lot to say in the matter regarding DICE LA, which he is now taking over that studio, as well as his daily duties for Respawn Entertainment. And this is what he actually had to say regarding DICE LA, and it kind of made me wonder if maybe DICE LA could potentially do Titanfall 3 and not Respawn Entertainment. And he says the intention for DICE LA is for them to have their own identity. We'll figure out as we go, though the COVID-19 situation has thrown a kink into everything, so we're still trying to figure it out. They won't be folded into Respawn, and he confirmed this to IGN, though their first game is likely to be a shooter running on the Frostbite engine. Now, obviously, this topic is complete speculation. They have talked about Titanfall 3. The last we heard is that they had no intentions to bring it to us in 2020, though they didn't say that we wouldn't get a new Titanfall 3 in 2021. And Noof, I'm bringing you into this conversation first simply because besides myself, you are a huge Titanfall fan, more specifically Titanfall 2 that we've played together numerous times. It is still one of my favorite games of the generation. It's certainly one of the best first-person single-player campaigns ever released, this gen. For you personally, do you want to see Respawn or potentially DICE LA go back to the well and bring us a Titanfall 3 for the next generation?
Absolutely. Because Titanfall, in my opinion, is one of the best new IPs to come along in a very long time. They took a lot of the successful things that made Call of Duty successful and they transferred it over, into something that many of us clamored for years, was having sort of a first-person mech-style shooter, but do it again with amazing graphics, fantastic frame rates, great pacing, phenomenal controls, most importantly, easy to pick up and play, but again, takes a little bit of effort to sort of master, so to speak. You know what I mean? There's so many levels of gameplay to a game like Titanfall because, again, you've got the wall running, you've got the jumping, you've got the the jetpacks and the amazing weaponry, and obviously the Titans themselves, which add a completely different style of play to the multiplayer. The first game was amazing. But the first game was multiplayer based. I wish the campaign was welcome in number 2, and I loved it. I wish they would just take the first player multiplayer, add it with the campaign like number 2, and there you go. Because I think multiplayer was
perfect Titanfall, to be honest.
The second Titanfall multiplayer is not terrible by any means. It's still really good. They just made some fundamental changes to the design, especially with the way that you outfit your Titans. Everything was class based and stuff like that. And I like to see them kind of go back to what they did with the first game multiplayer, like I said, and just add another phenomenal campaign, because the campaign was dynamite in number 2. As far as who makes the game, look, it's like anything. It really doesn't matter as long as you got a competent and capable studio. And I think the bulk load of them are capable of making great games these days. It doesn't necessarily be Respawn. I think as long as Vince Zampella and his his creative teams are somewhere associated, so they can just make sure that, like I said, you don't stray too far from the formula. Titanfall is, in my opinion, it's one of the most, I don't know, I would say in a way it was overlooked, very overlooked, and largely like in part to what you mentioned, Boo, with the fact that it was sandwiched between Battlefield and what was the other one? Star Wars, was it?
No, Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It was sandwiched into a couple of big releases. Should have had its sort of own set window to be promoted and sort of gestate on fans. It kind of got overlooked. There was a bad stigma. We all remember the blue disc stigma that went through the morons in the Xbox community. The whole 9 yards. The game. But it should have been a bigger hit than it was. I mean, I think a lot of people started picking it up, but it was kind of after the game had been discounted and all that sort of stuff. It was right up there with the Tomb Raider series as being one of the best games that's for some reason some people just don't play or haven't really tried out. But I hope they make another game. I think that they will. I think it's just a matter of time. We'd like to see what it's going to look like on next-gen consoles, especially if they can get it up. If they could get this game running at a 4K 60 would be phenomenal. But I think it doesn't matter if Vince and them does it as long as they got a competent studio to do it, and maybe with at least like I said co-producing or creative assistance by Vince and his team. I think they'll do all right and make a great game. So let's hope it comes back soon.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I think that if you would have mashed, first of all, Titanfall 2, like you said, its multiplayer wasn't horrendous. It just was extreme. It was relatively different than the original one. I even though I found a Titan that I used, I always preferred doing my own loadout, using whatever weapons I wanted for the Titan that I wanted. They took that away and they locked it. They locked you behind a specific weapon set.
There's just imbalance too. When you bring
imbalance for sure. No matter about it. Tempest, being that you're in the conversation, what for you personally? I mean, obviously you are our professional when it comes to multiplayer assassinations, and I'm sure that you did well in Titanfall. Would you like to see Vince Impella and that team at Respawn, or potentially Dice LA, actually tackle Titanfall 3 and bring it back in a big way for next gen?
It's funny you say that. You say I'm the assassin. I mean, there's only 2 games I think I've ever been confident in saying that I'm well above average in, and I'm not trying to boast or brag, but one's Battlefield, or just probably Battlefield in general, but Battlefield 4 and Titanfall 1 and 2. Those were my games. I love Titanfall so much. I love Titanfall 2's multiplayer as well, but I think they were chasing a little bit of that Overwatch effect, to be honest with you. And they started bringing the classes in there and stuff like that with the Titans, which brought imbalances to it, and it took them forever to fix it. On top of that, you had the issue with being sandwiched in between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty. And with imbalances and stuff like that, you start getting into the thing where the better than average players were still utilizing the things that are broken, and it's oppressive for anybody new to try to get in there and play. So if they were to make another one, they need to bring a little bit more of that Titanfall 1 flavor back into it, and then just keep the campaign. The campaign was fantastic. The only thing that worries me is the Frostbite engine. The Frostbite engine does amazing things. Yeah, I just said I love Battlefield 4. Yeah, that engine was specifically made for Battlefield, and I don't know if it's going to run because it had severe issues. Now, this was BioWare. This wasn't, that had problems with it, but that engine kind of buckled when you just tried to make something fly. Imagine jumping in and out at high speed of a Titan, dashing through the game world super quick and running on walls and jump jetting and stuff like that. I don't know. That just kind of scares me. The Titanfall series was built on a heavily modified version of the source engine. Right. So it was just built for speed. That's all there is to it. It was like a very fast engine, fast moving game. So that's the part that scares me. And the engines mean a lot, everybody. It means everything. It really does. So I don't think that's a good fit. This would be cool though. Just imagine a spinoff, have it play more like Battlefield, but instead of being the pilot that's running on walls and stuff, more grounded physics, more grounded gameplay. And imagine being one of the grunts that's just cool, stuck on the ground and seeing these oppressive Titans, but not Titans, but Titans, there are Titans, just battling it out in front of you and destroying stuff with destruction. That's what Frostbite's good at. That's why, the DICE made it do, what it is with destruction and all that stuff. That would be so cool, as being helpless on the floor is trying to stay alive while Titans were just crumbling buildings around you and stuff like that. I think that'd be cool. And if they're going to be stuck using the Frostbite engine, I would take it in that route. I wouldn't try to make the Frostbite engine do what the source engine did. I just don't think it's going to work. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and you know what, Frostbite doesn't work for everything. So that and that's definitely proven. We saw that with Mass Effect Andromeda, it just didn't work. And that's why that game was the way it was. But Cybernox, what are your thoughts on the potential of the community? And of course, I'm talking about both the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X community getting a new Titanfall 3 in 2021, possibly 2022. Do you think Vince Zampella and that team at Respawn need to go back to the series that made Respawn what they are?
Oh man, absolutely. I think Titanfall was one of those games that unfortunately picked a very bad release window. It's highly popular amongst critics and even the fan base. It's just um it came out to me personally, it just came out in a bad window. Like it was engulfed by two juggernauts of the industry at that time. It would be amazing to see what they can do with, like, as gaming starts to evolve with this new hardware that we're gonna get next gen. And they did so many things on on Titanfall 2 that we see games doing today for the next gen. Like I mentioned to you guys before, there's that time travel um level that it pretty much was probably like one of the best levels I played on a shooter, where
Yeah.
you're traversing through time, like in real time, and the NPC is reacting to exactly what you're doing. I thought that was just genius, and how seamless that was. It was like something that they're actually using to feel like this gen, right? Like there's a lot of games that are using multi dimensions and traversing through different worlds, things like that. And you can see that Titanfall, did something very similar on this current gen. So it gives me hope and as to what else they can come up when hardware is not as limited as it was just in this generation, And that team Respawn, I mean, tell me one bad game that they've done. They haven't.
Nothing
you
yet.
know? Nothing yet. Knock on wood, knock on wood. But yeah, their shooting is phenomenal. I love the shooting mechanics on there. I didn't mind the raw running. I love that fast-paced shooting. I love the twitch shooters. So man, it would be an absolute treat to not only the Titanfall fan base, but to any newcomers that want to experience something like that, like Titanfall. I hear a lot of people wanting Mech Assault to come back and things like that, and that's pretty much one of the closest things that we've gotten to when it comes to those the Titans, those Mech Assault robots. So yeah, man, it'll be an absolute treat. I would love to see them make Titanfall 3 for sure.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think that potentially it makes sense for Respawn to wait for the new hardware to be able to take full advantage of even having more Titans on the field at once, potentially, making this a 50v50 as opposed to with just being, I think it was 10v10, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, can you imagine a battle royale? Because it's the hot thing right now, of just mechs.
Yeah, no,
it'd be insane.
That actually would be insane. Gaming Forte, let's bring you into the conversation regarding Respawn and the potential of a return to greatness with Titanfall 3. Were you a fan of the series, and would you like to see Respawn bring it back in a big way?
Yes, and yes. How many times did you ask that question? Do you need two more yeses? Maybe two.
Sure,
or
why the hell not?
Yeah, no, man, dude. The first Titanfall, that multiplayer was the most addictive thing I've played since college. And that's coming from a person, and Destiny was a thing then. So that game was so addicting. I felt like I was playing Call of Duty Modern, the first Call of Duty 4.
Oh, fire.
How much I played it is like, I can't even believe the amount of time I put into like that game. And then the only problem that game had was just the content drop. They just couldn't keep up with the demand of the game over the course of the first couple of months, and it just kind of fell through the cracks and people just went off and played other things. I honestly believe that's the main reason the first Titanfall 2 didn't do as good, because people just had that bad taste of, Respawn not really supporting the game like they should have from the very beginning. And then when you get this amazing package in Titanfall 2, people were still skeptical of just the offering that we're going to be in it long term. Come to find out, it ended up being the best first-person shooter campaign that you played this entire generation, probably any first-person shooter. And then on top of that, the multiplayer was still very serviceable, but it wasn't as good as the first one. That's why I agree with Noof when he said you could take the first one and take the second one. It kind of has that 343 problem, but not as bad as 343, unfortunately, very fortunately. But I don't care who makes it. I would love there to be something that Respawn does. But I know Vince has got bigger and better things that he's working on. And trust me, we were all super upset when Apex Legends became the game that we found out was the secret game that Respawn was making, and they weren't making Titanfall 3. That was a big conversation in the community last year. But I think they made the right move, because Apex Legends is one of those games that it's pretty good too on its own.
They're making money hand over fist on that.
Making money hand over fist on that
and
game.
just one thing there, like that in itself, when Apex Legends became a huge hit like last year, then we also saw the numbers for Titanfall went up, so it actually boosted the numbers and community for Titanfall, which was a blessing. So tell me, when Titanfall 3 drops, that they won't have a bigger base rate from the get-go?
Well, that's because now more people, because you got to think, Respawn, that was their first game. Titanfall, first of all, it was an Xbox exclusive, and let's be for real, the Xbox player saturation and numbers was a lot lower back then. I think it was like only 10 to 15 million consoles in the ecosystem around then. So you got the smaller denominator of people playing, and then it was on Xbox. So it just didn't hit like it should have hit. It would have hit a lot harder if it was a multi-plat. I do think it did as good as it could do on a single platform like it was on Microsoft, because at that point, Xbox was still a de facto shooter box. We still had the license for Call of Duty that year. We still had all of that. We still had the Battlefield license. We pretty much every shooter we had the license for and stuff. So I think it was going to do the best on Xbox. It just didn't hit like it should have hit because of a couple of other things. But I do agree with Noof. If they did make another one, the sales of Titanfall 2 after the fact, Apex Legend, their name being on that game, it wouldn't be that at a point it was Apex Legend was like, from the creators of Titanfall 1. That's what Apex Legends was marketed off of. Now it's going to be from the creators of Apex Legends, and it's going to be like Titanfall 3. It's going to be like, oh my God, all those people that's play HA Legend, they're going to want to play the next thing from Respawn.
Yeah.
So when they I do think it should be Respawn, because they have the pedigree with a couple of games behind them. But but me as a gamer, being somebody that played them no matter what anyways, I would take it from anybody as long as the vision of Vince Zampella is still there, because I think they did what Call of Duty couldn't do, master the mechanics of wall running and jumping around a map, because people got sick of it in Call of Duty because that's all you did. In this game, it was like, oh my God, what did they do? They did it again, and I hope to see that sooner rather than later.
No, great point. And closing out this, again, originally written topic that I thought might be interesting for the chat as well as the panel, BitCloud, what are your thoughts on Respawn potentially going back to the well with Titanfall 3 and maybe, just maybe, waiting for the next generation of hardware to be able to produce their ideologies and visions for the series?
Yeah, definitely go wait for the next gen. Push the new hardware, push how how fast these games can load, perform, and obviously prioritize the 60 FPS. The performance.
Yes.
And the thing about the first one on the Xbox One, the only reason why a lot of people kind of were mixed on that is because, remember, it was strictly multiplayer and it didn't have any modes. So they're really going to go all out for this one. I like a lot bit more modes, a lot of variety with the Titans. Have fun with the Titans. You get what I'm saying? Make it more interesting. with the characters, and that would be great for them. It'd be a big project. It will definitely sell consoles, and it will definitely build interest.
Well, I will say this with the power of the SSDs, and I hate that, again, it's becoming almost like a meme at this point for both consoles. So many games like big time shooters, potentially like Titanfall 3, are going to have a tremendous advantage. And of course, with the power of both consoles, you'll be able to run these games easily at 4K 60, but potentially even higher. You might be able to run, both. You might be able to run these games at 100 frames, 120 frames per second. Could you imagine how fast?
Oh, that'd be great if it did it. The fear is, though, for a lot of gamers have this fear now that developers will more likely just push the visuals.
Yeah, I know. That's
kind of same.
I don't think Vince Ampello won't do that though.
There's gonna vary, but a lot of developers are more likely gonna push that visual. They go 8K. 8K is gonna be the new buzzword. Hey, we got 8K. This is like,
Lord,
let's not do that.
I will agree. I will agree with, of course, Tempest's son, because Vince Ampello. Remember, he's the one that did something unthinkable. He said, "No, we're not using the Frostbite engine for Star Wars." Right. Yep. Right. And he did it his way, and the game was a mega hit. I mean, some people don't really care for as much as I particularly did, but if Vince Ampello is going to be involved in Titanfall 3 on the next generation consoles, I can say right now with complete confidence that it's going to be a masterpiece. But I will say this has been an incredible 2+ hours of game content.
Squadrons? I mean, it cut you off. Did you talk about?
Yes.
I know you hyped for that, aren't you? The Squadron.
Well, there's a. Oh, you know what? If everyone got a few minutes, let's bring that into as like a bonus topic, if you will. Today, EA announced, of course, the new Star Wars, title, where it's going to be, Star Wars. It's going to be basically it's going to be like a flight sim. You're going to be able to play either as the Empire and, of course, the Rebels. And it was also announced, surprisingly enough, that you're going to be able to play this on the PlayStation VR, the entire game in VR, which, of course, that's is pretty wild. Buying the $40 game that comes out, I believe it's October 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. And anybody want to chime in? I won't call on you individually. First of all, the trailer was dope, and what I loved about it is, besides it being a squadron-based multiplayer game, you are getting not one, but you're getting 2 campaigns. That's right. Yes, you're going to be able to play as the Rebel pilot, but there's also going to be able to play as the Empire pilot as well. So I would like to say that you're probably going to get 10 to 12 hours between both campaigns from both perspectives. And of course, if you are a multiplayer fan, you're probably going to put potentially hundreds of hours into this. Anybody interested in this game? And Big Cloud, I'll start with you.
Yeah, if I had a VR, I definitely would get this day one. I like this. I'm glad VR is still getting pushed, and it's still showing a strong presence. Obviously, they got Iron Man still about to launch too. So, you got a lot of stuff there dropping.
I believe, right?
Yeah, got a lot of stuff dropping. So that's good.
Yeah, I'm and it's only $40. Now I know people are gonna be like, "Wow, $40 at the budgeted title." Well, I mean, it's kind of like Rogue Squadron for the GameCube. If you remember those Rogue Squadron games, those are dope. And the fact that you're going to be able to team up with up to 4 other of your buddies, will be 5 of you, sounds pretty good to me. Anybody else want to jump in on this? Yeah.
Now I'm mad at myself. I got rid of my PSVR because now I'm going to want another one because you can play it in VR. And one of the best VR experiences you can play out there is, oddly enough, the small short mission that's on the original Star Wars Battlefront game. That was what sold me on VR more than any other thing that I ever played. When I first got in that cockpit of that X-Wing and saw how massive those asteroids looked when they flew over my head, and you see the Star Destroyer, I was like, now this is why we need VR in our lives right here, because that's as close as I'm ever going to be to actually feeling like I was in a Star Wars movie. That shit was nuts. Lots of other great teams too, but yeah, I love this trailer. I like where they're going with it. Rogue Squadron and back in the N64 era and so on was one of my favorite franchise ever. So if they can keep, if this is like the spiritual successor, has a lot of the things that made those games great, with obviously the amazing graphics, and I expect no less, with EA and Motive, and I'm sure that they're getting lots of It's running on dice, right? I think it's Frostbite as well.
Yes.
So it should look just like the Battlefront games essentially, and those games look absolutely phenomenal. So I'm stoked, man. Count me in day one. $40. That's like probably 50 or 60 canas, so still a little bit less expensive. Count me in. Can't wait to jump in my X-Wing and go pew pew.
Well, you know what? If you do have EA access, you do save. I believe it's 10%. Not that it's a lot, but you do save a couple of bucks.
You know me and digital.
I
shit,
know.
bro.
It's not going to be for you. Tempest, did you get a chance to take a look at the trailer?
Yeah, more so than the trailer. I watched Jack Frags. He's a big YouTuber, and I watched gameplay on his channel. We actually had a topic about this when this kind of first got leaked a couple months ago.
Yes.
And yeah, pretty much what we said there just came true. It's quite literally just the good portions of Battlefront, the Starfighter section, and here it is, full game, $40, good price. Everybody that had fun with that little section, or those sections in the game should go out and get this. And I do want to say, we just had Respawn's Star Wars game. We have Battlefront, and now we're getting this. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself. The movies are failing me so freaking bad. I can't stand it, but I love Star Wars. Let's hopefully the video game industry can succeed where the movies completely and utterly freaking failed. It's starting to feel a little bit like the good old days when we had bounty hunter games, the original Battlefront series.
Pod racing is coming back.
Pod racing.
Did
Dude,
you play Fallen Order?
The what now?
Jedi Fallen Order. Did you play that?
Yeah, I played some of it. I do need to go back and play more of it. Yeah, I absolutely do.
The Urge, trust me, that's definitely the best.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of waiting for the Series X because that feels like a couch game, and I played it on the subscription service from Origin, and I just didn't like sitting there playing it at my PC. That just didn't feel like it, but I didn't want to deal with the frame rate all over the place. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for the Series X. For
you waited this long, you wait another couple of months. It's not going to be no big deal
for sure. Yeah.
Real quick, anybody else want to jump in on this the Star Wars topic before we get on out of here?
Oh man,
No, I'm not a big flying. Not Star Wars. I'm talking about flying games. Sorry.
What do you mean? You like flying games?
I don't know, man.
how dare you?
To be fair, I have never really given them like a legit shot. So.
Don't worry, we're
not sure what to say here.
We're gonna get you.
We need to put Ace Combat
sense of disturbance in the
for you.
force.
Ace Combat is actually on xCloud, and it plays pretty well. I actually
is.
tried that. Yeah, it was good.
I played it in VR. Jesus.
Nice.
Talking about moving them. No, but that Star Wars, look, Tempest took it right out of my mouth, and I swear that we were speaking to each other through the Force because the movies, Lord have mercy, like when I saw the trailer, I was like, why is this trailer making me feel better than every movie that's released in the last 7 years? Literally, like it's like just the music, the choreograph, the cinematography of it. I was sitting there like, Lord, let this game just be great. Because that's the one thing I love about video game makers and companies and publishers. DICE know how to cut a trailer. That's the one thing I will always say about a DICE trailer. And EA knows how to cut a trailer. It gets you excited for the game. This game is no different, and it reminds me of, just like he said, old classic Star Wars, you versus me, us versus them. And that was the whole beat of that trailer, and it got me excited, and it just got me excited for video games. But it's like, it's been so long that I felt that way for movies like that. It's like, come on, man. Can we at least get both sides doing this? Because that's all I want as a Star Wars fan. But I'm happy to get this. This is something we talked about. Like you said, we talked about it a while ago. It was I'm just glad that it's actually a thing. And now at this point, it just really comes down to like, what's that VR version going to be? Because that might be a determining factor on me playing it on the Xbox or the PlayStation. Because the VR,
I've already decided I'm buying it on PlayStation.
Yeah,
for the
VR
VR
I gotta buy it
aspect
on PlayStation just for the VR, man. And but you know what they could do? Sony and Xbox. I don't know what you guys got to do. There is no reason with these next gen systems that I should have to pay for Origins on PC. We have systems that can run these games like PCs now. I shouldn't have to get Origin access to get day and date free copies of a game over the course of a year versus what we get on. Now, don't get me wrong, Xbox One is doing really good with the EA access. You do get 7 days early, but look, man, when you buy that game on PC and you get their year subscription, you don't buy the game. The game is literally in your inbox and you own it up to a year until your subscription is over. That needs to come to console. Nice. Please bring that to console. I don't know what Xbox and PlayStation got to do it, but it needs to come there because that's where I want to play this game at. And I'm with you 100%. I do not want to sit and play that game. I didn't beat Star Wars because I don't want to play it at my PC. I want to sit back on my couch and play that. And that sounds weird as hell, me saying that, because I love my PC. But some games really do you just don't want to play it on your PC. You just want to sit back on a console and play it. So please bring Origin access to PC. I mean, the console.
Well, listen, again, as we close out this particular topic, first of all, this was a bonus topic. Thanks for the hot information in BitCloud. But before we get out of here, I have to thank Regulator 951 for the additional $2 super chat, and he says Rise 2 would be godly on the Xbox Series X. Please, Phil Dominacy. You know what, dude? I'm going to be honest with you. I believe Rise 2 is coming. Even though we don't have no confirmation on, I believe that's going to be here, and I think they're going to revisit that IP. But let's get into the outros and get everyone out of here. I want to thank the near 400 people that tuned in for tonight's new episode of Primetime Gaming. Of course, I have to say this and do this every show. I want to thank the crazy amount of generosity that is continuing to be shown to me on these live shows through the Super Chat. And I want to thank everybody for their generosity. It is truly and greatly appreciated. And we'll start with BitCloud. BitCloud, obviously, you're going to be back on Friday morning, and you have an amazing YouTube channel yourself that's seen significant growth over the last year or so. I believe you're well over 6,000 subs, which is pretty amazing. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but also check out your outstanding YouTube channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. About time I got the invite. He's been blacklisting me this whole time. I'm just there right now. Anyway, I appreciate the invite. Shout out to Forte. Always a pleasure. It's my brother. And you, Tempest, Cyber, good talking to you. Yeah. Shout out to the chat. And you guys can follow me at BitCloud Gaming on YouTube and Twitter. Friday RGT Podcast. And of course, I'm here with the one and only Mr. Boomstick every Friday at 10 a.m. for Breakfast with Boom.
Well, thanks so much for being here. And of course, yes, we're going to be talking a lot of information. I'm literally putting the show together as we speak for Friday morning. I don't have all the topics lined up, but I'm looking and trolling the interwebs for that. And we'll have that information out shortly and who's going to be joining us as well. Noof Nukem, I want to thank you so much for being here, dude. Always enjoy you being here. And of course, last but not least, I know that we didn't bring him in because he didn't fit the particular topic, but you also went to the airport while you were on pause, and you brought us Arnold. Arnold, listen, sorry for bringing you in at the last minute, but you know what? Thanks for being here.
That's okay, Boom. I just wanted to say it's always a pleasure to be here, but I'm going to tell you this. If you're going to leave me for last every single episode, I'm going to get your address, and I'm going to come to your house, and I'm going to lay the smackdown on you just like I will on Sarah Connor. So that's all I'm going to say is it's always a pleasure to be here. You get the best chat. You get the great crew, Tempest Sun, Gaming Forte, BitCloud, Cybernox. Everybody's just knocking it out of the park here today, and it's an honor to be here, and I can't wait to come back sometime. Hopefully you have a topic that's very suited for me. Maybe it's like bodybuilding or some old movies or something like that, but we will definitely talk a bit more later, and I'll hand it over to Noof.
You know what? I got a question for Arnold. Arnold, when are you going to get back into politics? When are you going to run for president of the United States? Because I think you'll do a better job than the one we have now.
That's a great question, and obviously I would have loved to have been the president of the United States, but I've got to tell you now. I mean, you look at the world and it's crazy out there. I mean, most people can't even understand what is going on, and they can't even understand me. I've been in this country for how long, and most people still can't get over my accent. So I don't know what I'm going to do or how I would do it differently. I would like to pull the freaking rug off of Donald Trump's head, and I'd like to throw him in the trash can. But that's been it. I'll leave the politics up here to more people that are still out there doing it. I'm glad just to be back in the movies. I wanted to tell you for the next Terminator, I'm coming out in a wheelchair because I wanted to make the movie accessible to everybody. So we saw the female movement that gets in there. We get the female movement in there, and now I want to make sure that everybody gets representation. So I'll be pushing my wheelchair out there, and I'll be popping the Viagra. We'll have metal prong penis Terminators, and we'll beat the hell out of you all.
Thank you, Arthur. I appreciate that.
Well, that was nice. So Luke Nukem, why don't you obviously you took a little bit of hiatus, obviously because you're co-host, and now that we know that she's going to be coming back, we love your show, and of course, Gaming After Dark is a little bit edgier, but at the same time, still finds a way to incorporate the great aspect of gaming.
Yes.
Tell everyone where they can check out that amazing program, but more importantly, follow you on social media.
Absolutely. It's Gaming After Dark. It's on my YouTube channel, which is Noof Nukem, on Tuesday evenings. It's usually 10 Eastern. It's a little bit late. I know that doesn't work well for some people, but hey, you can always catch it on the replay, whether you pop in to say hello or you check out the whole thing. The support is greatly appreciated. It is me. It is Primal Eve. Right now, we're going through some guest spots. We're hoping to add a third party to our repertoire here over the next little while. Sort of like a tryout kind of a deal. We want to see how the community feels about the people and obviously how well they gel with us, which only makes sense, right? So it is me and Primal Eve. Tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, we'll be back. Our special guest is going to be Hollywood Chris Simmons. He's a great dude. He's a lot of fun, and I'm sure it'll be a hot show tomorrow night. And don't forget about community game nights. We had one this past weekend. It went over really well. We went over in the PlayStation. We did some Uncharted 4, which actually went pretty well. We didn't get a big crowd, so we kind of ended up playing against other people online. Generally, community game nights is private matches and stuff like that. That's a little bit more fun, but we did have a great time all the same. And we're going to try to do it again soon. And probably Titanfall will definitely be one of those games on that particular agenda. So, So, man, just if you want to be part of community game nights, I just tell people, just add me on Xbox at Noof Nukem or Noof Nukem 76 on PlayStation. And if the game in question happens to be something that you feel like you'd like to come and play, it doesn't matter your skill level, because I said we do private matches and we're not counting scores and we're not counting kill death ratios and swearing at each other. We're having a good time. It's what it's all about playing games, having fun. And, so those usually go down on Saturday evenings, all that good stuff. So check it out sometime. Send me a message and let me know you're interested. We'll definitely get you in for a game. But that's about it, man. Again, thanks, guys. Tempest, Cyber, BitCloud, Gaming Forte, and to the most organized and amazing host in the business of YouTube right now, guys, Mr. Boomstick. Give him a follow.
Yes,
show him some support.
I appreciate it.
And we'll see you on another one of his casts soon, I'm sure.
Yes, well, thanks so much. And Cybernox, let's get you on out of here. I know you got to get up early. I'm not sure if you're back in the office yet, but obviously, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us for 2+ hours. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but also check out your outstanding YouTube channel.
Hey, man, it's been great. I love coming here on Mondays talking game with you guys. My primetime gaming family. Big Cloud, always a pleasure, my friend. Forte, Noof, Tempest, Boom, always a pleasure. Make sure you guys give everyone here a follow. And it's Cybernox everywhere. I'm always on Xbox Live. Most of the time, I am on Xbox, but you can find me everywhere. And yeah, I'm easy. That's it for me.
Well, thanks again for being here, dude. Really appreciate it and love what you bring to the table every episode you're on. And of course, our resident assassin who has admitted that he has taken down thousands, potentially millions of people in Titanfall 1 and 2. Yes, that is Tempest's son. Dude, thanks so much for being here. Love that you're here every week. Obviously, your wife just gave birth to your beautiful daughter, and I appreciate you taking the time away from your family to hang out with us. That is awesome. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can be assassinated by you on Xbox Live.
My gamer tag is Tempest Sun, and I'm at the Tempest Sun on Twitter. And thank you once again, Boom. It's always fun. And now it's time to attempt to get some sleep.
Yes,
It's
yes.
probably not happening.
I'm going to get some sleep at that. And last but not least, Gaming Forte, dude, thanks so much for being here. Sorry you had a crazy day, but I could imagine that this week is going to be even more crazier with The Last of Us 2 releasing this Friday. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can check you on other programs you're on, but also your outstanding and growing YouTube channel.
Yeah, man, definitely. It was always fun. Like I said, sorry I couldn't be here earlier, but man, you guys killed it. Even when I went out here, I'm always entertained by just listening to you guys talk in the background. So this is always a cool thing to be a part of. But it's Gaming Forte everywhere, YouTube and Twitter. Even on Xbox Live, I retired to my original Xbox Live name, so it's Gaming Forte there too. Because everybody was getting confused. That was on my friends list. And it's like, who is this nautical guy? So that is Gaming Forte too. But you also can catch us Wednesday nights on the Brat Podcast. Always a good time over there. We're going to have my boy Jeremy. He's our Sony rep. He's going to be on the show. He's going to be telling us about what's going on with the PS5 and how he was even in the dark on how this was actually going to be rolled out because of the whole COVID-19 situation. So don't miss that. And then, the Mooch, we're going to be doing that show on Friday night at 7 p.m. Check us out over there. And I will always, even when I'm not there, talk about Ash and Luca. That's my girl. That's my family. I love her to death. Me and I will rock with that girl every day when it comes to anything she does on that show. And she has the most thought-provoking show, I believe, on YouTube, and that's the Scumcast. Her and Slow-Mo Back Up be killing it over there. So check them out, and maybe I'll be there. I don't know. It depends if I got to work or not. Depends on how tired I am after Last of Us this weekend. So, guys, just have a good weekend.
I think everybody's going into exile.
Yeah, everybody's definitely going to
exile. Yeah, dude, spoilers
sure.
ain't a problem once that game comes out. I won't even be watching Twitter.
Yeah, no, me either. I'll be too busy playing the game. But listen, everyone, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to wish everybody a great night. Have a fantastic and safe week. And I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. And it was important to my dad growing up. And he taught me to be a better person, more importantly, a better man. He used to tell me, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you are going to have an awesome day. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.